Chapter 27-21. I don't need you to give in. 3. Didn't I say that you're not sincere? Lung Roashua looked at Elder Chi as if she was looking an idiot. Then, she bade goodbye to Miao Jia and the rest before turning around and leaving the meeting hall. Don't go. Don't go. Come back. Wu, put me down. Elder Chi begged in pain, but all he could see was Lung Roashua's back. Seeing Lung Roashua leave without any hesitation, Elder Chi had no choice but to turn his resentful gaze to Miao Jia. He pleaded softly, President, help me put in a few good words and get that little ancestor to agree to let me down. Oh, Miao Jia felt great listening to Elder Chi, who had always liked to find trouble, begging him. He could not deny that he was very relieved to see Elder Chi's current state. However, as a person of high status, his thoughts could not be seen in the light. Therefore, he looked at Elder Chi with a pained expression and said helplessly, Elder Chi, it's not that I want to criticize you, but you know that my master is not to be trifled with, so why did you have to throw an egg at a rock? AI, master is currently in a fit of anger, so I don't dare to speak up for you. After he finished speaking, Miao Jia supported his father and turned around to leave. Seeing that the new master and the president had left, the elders and branch presidents were naturally unwilling to stay any longer. Moreover, they had more important things to do. For example, the people around the president. They really didn't recognize those people, so they thought of asking Miao Jia in private. After a while, Elder Chi was the only one left in the large meeting hall. Put me down. Put me down. Elder Chi's unyielding voice echoed in the spacious meeting hall, but no one responded to him. The next day, Miao Jia came over excitedly to tell Lung Roashua that he had told the elders about the identities of Miao Yuan and the others. The elders were all extremely surprised and wanted to hold a celebratory banquet for their father and the others. They had specially invited Lung Roashua to attend. When Lung Roashua heard this, she gave it some thought and still reminded him honestly, Miao Jia, I don't mind if you want to hold a banquet, but what I want to tell you is that Miao Yuan and the others cannot stay in the headquarters like this. Otherwise, if they are discovered by the Ripple Mist bitch, it will bring danger to all of you. Then what should we do? Miao Jia immediately panicked when he heard that. There are two choices. One is that I bring them back to Demon City, and the other is that I give them some disguise pills. You let them think about it. Lung Roashua gave him two options. Thank you, young master, Miao Jia said gratefully. The celebration banquet was held as scheduled. Before the banquet, Miao Jia did not mention this to them. However, once the banquet ended, he immediately told Miao Yuan and the others about Lung Roashua's suggestion. After Miao Yuan and the others heard this, they all decided to disguise themselves and stay in Yu City after careful consideration. After all, this was their root in their home. They could not bear to leave. As for not being able to show their true faces, they didn't care. In any case, Fog wouldn't think that those people were them, because the prison had been arranged by the young master. They believed that it wouldn't be long before Fog would receive the news of their death. However, they were worried about their identity. After all, there would always be so many people on the mission at once, which would make people suspicious, and Fog was suspicious by nature. However, Miao Jia calmly told them that they didn't need to worry about this matter. As the president of the Missions Guild, it was easy for him to arrange fake identities for them. However, they had to put on a full show. Before this matter was completely confirmed, they had to remain invisible for a period of time and not appear in Yu City openly. Miao Yuan and the rest immediately agreed to Miao Jia's plan. Just like that, the issue of Miao Yuan and the others' identities was easily resolved. Lung Roashua had also completed the mission that the headquarters had taken in. She was prepared to return home with the large amount of resources that Miao Jia had handed in. Of course, she did not forget about Elder Chi before she left. She went to see Elder Chi and told the old man that she was leaving. When Elder Chi heard this, he immediately burst into tears and shouted that he wanted to recognize him as his master. However, his voice was weak. It was obvious that he had been tortured to the point of a mental breakdown in just a short period of time. This time, Lung Roashua didn't make things difficult for him. She really didn't want to waste any more time in Yu City. When Elder Chi heard this, he immediately acknowledged her as his master. He didn't need Lung Ruoxue to tell him about the master recognition contract, because he had heard it clearly when Lung Ruoxue had told the other elders. The moment the contract was formed, Elder Chi's heart that had been in his throat for a long time finally relaxed. However, when Lung Ruoxue rescued him from the wall, Elder Chi was still bawling his eyes out. He sighed seriously. He no longer wanted to be a mural, and no longer wanted to be looked up to by others. The feeling of being looked up to was really not good. Stop. He should just be an honest elder. Furthermore, he could tell that Lung Ruoxue was different from other masters. If he wanted to cause any more trouble, Lung Ruoxue would definitely not allow him to do so. One had to admit that Elder Chi had grown up. After settling this last matter, Lung Ruoxue then carried Song and left the headquarters as if there was no one else around. On the way to the city gates, Lung Ruoxue met the 3 Reverent God-level experts from the Divine Master's estate by chance. They stared at each other for a long time, but none of them said a word. They then separated. Thanks, however, Lung Ruoxue didn't ignore the few gazes that were fixed on her from behind. But she was very calm and walked to the city gate with elegant steps. When he was less than 100 meters away from the city gate, the leader of the city guards saw him at a glance. It wasn't because he had good eyesight, but because Lung Ruoxue was too eye-catching. He couldn't even pretend not to see her. He ran towards Lung Ruoxue excitedly. The head guard's face was flushed red as he asked, "Miss Lung, are we leaving the city?" This was great. He was finally going to send this demon away. Only the heavens knew how worried he had been these days. The leader of the guards was so happy that he almost danced with joy. However, it was a pity that Lung Ruoxue revealed a cheeky smile to the head guard and told him that she wasn't going out of the city and was just going for a stroll. The guard leader's face fell when he heard that. When Lung Ruoxue saw this, she could not help but feign sadness and asked, "You can't wait for me to leave? You don't welcome me?" She looked hurt. And no, the leader of the guards denied shyly. However, he could not deceive his own heart because he really did not welcome Lung Ruoxue. This woman was too troublesome. He was another time bomb that might explode at any moment. He really didn't want to experience those days of fear anymore. Lying is not good behavior. AI, forget it. I won't make things difficult for you. Since I'm so unwelcomed, I'd better leave first. After saying this, Lung Ruoxue walked towards the city gates with a sad look on her face. However, she had only taken 2 steps when Lung Ruoxue turned around and said, "But he'll be back." Initially, when the guard leader heard that Lung Ruoxue was leaving, he was overjoyed. However, before he could be happy for long, he heard that she would return. His overjoyed expression immediately froze on his face, and his half-smile expression looked a little distorted. Lung Ruoxue glanced at the guard leader's stiff expression and continued with a smile. "Why? Are you very disappointed?" After saying this, Lung Ruoxue finally left. However, even though Lung Ruoxue's back view could no longer be seen, the guard body was still stiff. His heart was in a mess, and he could not calm down. Lung Ruoxue couldn't care less about how conflicted the guard's thoughts were, because it didn't take long for Tsong to teleport her back to the land of demons. At this moment, the land of demons could be considered a real city. In the days that she was away, the construction of Demon City had advanced by leaps and bounds. By the time she returned, the construction of the entire base had been completed. As she looked at the grand and magnificent Demon City, Lung Ruoxue's mood was exceptionally high. However, her happiness did not last long before she was discovered by Uncle Long and the others. What awaited her was naturally the merciless judgment of the crowd. Sitting in the living room, Lung Ruoxue felt uneasy as she looked at Uncle Long, Godfather, and the rest who had unfriendly expressions. Don't look at how she was imposing in front of outsiders, but in front of these people she saw as family, she couldn't be tough at all. Therefore, from the moment she sat down in the living room, she was like an obedient baby. She lowered her head obediently and did not say a word, waiting for the crowd to flip out. At the same time, she couldn't help but sigh. Fortunately, Her grandfather and brothers went into seclusion after meeting Li Zhong and the others. Otherwise, she would have a hard time explaining herself. Speak. After drinking a mouthful of tea, the master of the Ning family said lightly, Hee, Godfather, Uncle Long, you've worked hard. Long Ruoxue said with a fawning smile. I didn't ask you to say this. Master Ning said through gritted teeth. Then what should I say? Long Ruoxue couldn't help but play dumb. Looking at how unfriendly her godfather and the rest were, how could she dare to say that she had provoked that bitch from the Ripple Mist, even if she had no choice? However, she believed that even if she didn't say anything, her godfather and the others would have found out. However, she still couldn't take the initiative to tell him. Where have you been? Seeing that Lung Ruoxue wasn't being honest, Master Ning could only ask her himself. Song, where did we all go? Lung Ruoxue didn't dare to answer directly and could only lower her head to ask Song. Song helplessly pouted and deeply despised Lung Ruoxue's cowardice. Was there a need to be so secretive? After we left the Ascender Alliance, we went to find trouble with the Ripple Mist bitch. Song Rushi said. After he finished speaking, he even gave Lung Ruoxue a look of disdain. Lung Ruoxue smiled awkwardly and added, I didn't know about this beforehand. That's right, I forced Neo to go. If you want to find trouble, come find me. Seeing that Lung Ruoxue was obviously trying to shirk her responsibility, Song was furious. He turned his spear and shouted at Master Ning and the rest. However, that was the truth. Hence, Songhu was not really angry at Lung Ruoxue. Chapter 27-22. Shui, did you miss me too? 1. Hearing Song's angry words, everyone fell silent. Looking for trouble with Song? Did they dare to? Song could send these reverent god-level experts flying with one kick. Moreover, they didn't really want to investigate Shui Er's disappearance. They just wanted Shui to value them. Woo. Song is too bad. By saying this, it was obvious that it didn't want them to find trouble with the bad girl Shui The few people present were very unwilling, but they couldn't beat Song, so they could only suffer in silence. Unwillingly, Uncle Long was the first to change his mind. How would we dare to find trouble with you? Besides, we're not blaming Shui It's just that if there's something fun, you should also think of us. It doesn't feel good to let us old men wait at home like idiots without knowing anything. What Uncle Long meant was that if something like this happened in the future, they shouldn't forget about them. They also wanted to participate. But after hearing this, Song asked, I'll tell you, do you have time to go and join in the fun? We're not building Demon City anymore. I'm talking about the future. Uncle Long added, That's right. You can't leave us behind if something like this happens again in the future. We're also participating. Master Ning said after looking at Lung Ruoxue with a bitter expression. Yes, we also want to see how unlucky Wu Chun is. However, I heard your voice in the sky that day. I wonder what good things you did. Dongfang Lin asked curiously. He remembered that the voice had said two things. One was the petal of the mist ripple bitch, and the other was the blood lotus flower. They already knew what the mist ripple petal meant, but they didn't know what the blood lotus flower meant. I sold the petal of the mist ripple bitch for 2 jingshi, and then I snatched the blood lotus flower that could heal her. That's all. Azure casually said. Can you be more detailed? Uncle Long asked anxiously. They had been making wild guesses about the blood lotus flower for a long time. Seeing everyone's eyes filled with anticipation, Azure stretched out his little paw and patted the petals of the red flower on his chest, saying softly, Little blood, say hello to everyone. At this moment, the incomparably beautiful blood lotus became coy. It extended a branch and wrapped it around Azure's small claw, shaking it silently. It was unknown what it was saying to Azure. Azure didn't say a word, and the beast and flower seemed to be communicating. Uncle Long and the others held their breaths and looked at this scene in a daze. No one dared to interrupt the communication between Song and the red flower. What surprised them even more was that they had known Song for so long, and other than seeing it treat Shui gently, they had never seen it treat anyone so gently. Although it was an exaggeration to use tender as water, The feeling that Song gave them now was very. After staring at Song and that little red flower for a while, Uncle Long and the rest felt a little embarrassed. They could only twist their stiff necks and turn to look at Lung Ruoxue, who knew that Shue would have a helpless and matter-of-fact expression, obviously used to such things. A few extremely bored elderly men who wanted to gossip quietly approached Shue and asked in a low voice, "Girl, what's going on with them?" Seeing that Uncle Long and the rest had also noticed the difference between Dian Song and the blood lotus flower, Lung Ruoxue explained with an evil smile, "They have a relationship that goes beyond friendship." Ugh. As they listened to Shue's obscure words, the few old men were confused. They didn't know what a relationship beyond friendship was. What was this good? Thanks, Shue, or what do you mean? The master of the Ning family asked shamelessly. It was a good quality to ask without shame. About the same as me and the demon. Lung Ruoxue explained. Uncle Long and the others finally understood. As expected, there was something. They knew it. Why did Song suddenly kidnap Shue for no reason? So as to save his little lover. A hero saving a beauty. Everything could be explained now. It was forgivable to go through fire and water for a beauty. Uncle Long and the others thought about it randomly and found an excuse for not daring to cause trouble for Song. Lung Ruoxue looked at their expressions and knew what Uncle Long and the others were thinking. However, she didn't care what they were thinking. She only knew that with Song's matter, they would forget about her. This was what she wanted, and the truth was just as Lung Ruoxue had thought. Now that they discovered spring, Uncle Long and the others couldn't be bothered to find trouble with Shue. They were even imagining when they would be able to drink Shang Tsung's wedding wine. They had to admit that they were so bored recently that their hair was about to grow out. However, don't think that Azure didn't know what these disrespectful old men were thinking. It was just too lazy to pay attention to them and focused on coaxing the suddenly shy blood lotus. With great difficulty, the blood lotus flower was finally coaxed and greeted everyone in a childish voice. "Hello." After saying this, the blood lotus flower fell silent again and buried its tender petals into Azure's arms. When everyone saw a flower acting coquettishly towards a cat, the corners of their mouths twitched uncontrollably. They quickly adjusted their expressions and said enthusiastically, "Hello, little red flower. It's called Little Blood." Song coldly corrected, "Hello, Little Blood." Everyone greeted him again. However, this also allowed them to fully understand the position of this flower in Senior Song's heart. Little Blood didn't respond. At this time, everyone heard Song coldly say, "Put away your dirty thoughts. Little Blood and I are not what you think." After coaxing Little Blood, Azure finally had the time to explain. However, in the eyes of the crowd, its explanation was obviously a cover-up. Therefore, although everyone nodded their heads in understanding on the surface, they did not believe its words in their hearts. However, Song didn't mind. He greeted Lung Ruoxue and had Nyo send them into the bracelet. Lung Ruoxue naturally did as she was told. Actually, she had long wanted to send the blood lotus flower in. However, neither the Azure Sea nor the blood lotus flower had the intention to do so, so she was too embarrassed to mention it. After sending Song away, Lung Ruoxue became the target of Uncle Long and the others. They continued to ask her what she had been doing during this period of time. Lung Ruoxue was helpless and could only report everything that she and Song had done during this period of time. But luckily, Uncle Long and the others were not angry this time. However, when Uncle Long and the others heard of Lung Ruoxue and Song's actions, they were still greatly shocked. They had never thought that this man and beast would actually run to the Imperial City and accept the mission headquarters. If this matter was known by Wu Yin, she would definitely vomit blood. Shue, well done. After listening to Lung Ruoxue's words for a long time, Dong Fengyu, who had been silent all this while, finally opened his mouth. Chapter 27-23. Shue, did you miss me too? 2. As Lung Ruoxue listened to his words, her forehead was filled with black lines. She couldn't help but feel disgusted. This old man's reflex arc is really unusually long. Then, Everyone helplessly braced themselves as they listened to Dongfang Yu go on and on about the quest headquarters and the God Lord's estate. Dongfang Yu's saliva flew everywhere as he spoke. He couldn't help but dance when he got to the most emotional part. In the end, no one knew how long he spoke, but everyone was sleepy after listening to him. With much difficulty, Dongfang was getting tired from talking and stopped to take a sip of water. Lung Ruoxue saw this and immediately stood up. I'm finally done. I'm going back to my room to rest. Once she finished speaking, Lung Ruoxue left without any sense of loyalty. Uncle Long and the rest didn't hesitate either and immediately followed. In the blink of an eye, only Dongfang Yu was left in the large living room, still holding a teacup in a drinking posture. Dongfang Yu was very depressed. He hadn't finished his words yet. All of them actually ran away. AI, young people nowadays. Why didn't he want to listen to some history? After complaining to himself, he also returned to his room gloomily. Lung Ruoxue, who had just left the living room, went straight into the bangle after returning to her room. However, the moment she entered the bangle, she noticed a strong smell of gunpowder filling the space. Ugh, what was going on? Lung Ruoxue, who was puzzled, walked into the garden elegantly. The moment she stepped into the beautiful garden, she saw the two little fellows, Song and Green Vessel, confronting each other. Song stood calmly in front of Green Vessel, while Green Vessel put his hands on his waist and looked fierce. What's wrong? Lung Ruoxue could not help but ask curiously. Girl, you won't let me plant the little blood in the flower garden. Azure was the first to complain. Sister, I'm doing this for the good of the space. That flower's personality was too strong. It really wasn't suitable to be planted here. At least not now. Qingju said, as if he was defending his territory. I didn't expect to be so unpopular. At this moment, the red flower also said with a bitter expression. After listening to the words of the three little fellows, Lung Ruoxue finally managed to sort out some of her thoughts. Girl, don't listen to him. The blood lotus flower can be planted here. Before Lung Ruoxue could speak, Song immediately spoke. You bastard. I knew you didn't have a good heart. You want to cause the space to collapse, don't you? When Qingju heard this, he immediately roared in anger. Why don't you just say that you're too weak now? Song scoffed at Green Vessel's words. You. Qingju was so angry that his cute little face turned red. Then, he turned his head and looked at Lung Ruoxue with tears in his eyes. Sister, why did you let this bad guy in? He's bullying me. Sob, I'm so pitiful. I'm being bullied by a cat in my own territory. This was really too unreasonable. Oh heavens! Send down a divine lightning and strike me to death. The despair on Qingju's face made Lung Ruoxue's face turn black. Helpless, Lung Ruoxue could only carry Qingju and cajole. Qingju, don't cry. It's all your sister's fault for being so useless. It's because your sister's strength is too low that you can't recover your strength from your peak. AI, it's all my sister's fault. I've decided that it'll work hard in the future and master the heaven-defying art to its full potential. That way, you'll be able to break the last seal. Lung Ruoxue thought that Qingju would feel better after hearing her words. But who knew that Qingju would cry even harder after hearing her words? He choked out. How can you blame sister for this? The 9th level of the heaven-defying art isn't that easy to break through. I will work hard. Lung Ruoxue promised. Thanks, yes. As long as sister does her best, it's fine. The path of cultivation is a heaven-defying act, so there's no rush. Hearing Lung Ruoxue's promise, Qingju started to comfort her. Oof, what a master-servant relationship. At this moment, an extremely discordant voice suddenly rang out. Lung Ruoxue instantly felt the surrounding temperature drop by quite a bit. Then, she caught a glimpse of Song's dark face and his eyes that were spitting fire, staring at her fiercely. Lung Ruoxue's heart trembled. Could it be that Song was jealous? This wasn't a fun thing to do. Lung Ruoxue was a little scared, but it was clear that Green Vessel was not an easy person to get along with. Of course, she would not let go of any opportunity to deal a blow to Song. She smiled and said, That's right. My relationship with my sister is not something that a latecomer like you can compare to. I'm finished. Finished. This was definitely the beginning of a fight. Lung Ruashue was so worried that her heart was in her throat. All of a sudden, she regretted it. Why did she let these two little fellows get together? She was asking for it. No wonder people said that one would not die if they did not seek death. She was one now. Lung Ruashue wanted to cry, but had no tears. With a change of thought, she moved the azure and blood lotus flower out of the bangle. Since only green vessel was left, he naturally would not look for trouble. He smiled at Lung Ruashue and said, "Sister, you can play by yourself. I'm going to work." Qingju was very happy. "Oomph, I shouldn't have let that damn cat in." However, that silly cat had a way to hide her aura, so he couldn't stop her. But now, with the blood lotus flower, if that guy wanted to come in, no way. At the very least, he couldn't let them harm his land. At the thought of this, Qingju reminded Lung Ruashue, cautiously, "Elder sister, it's not that I'm being stingy, but the space right now simply can't withstand the violent chi of that blood lotus flower. That flower has just gained sentience, so it can't control its own chi at all. Therefore, letting it live in here will only do more harm than good to the space." "I understand." Lung Ruashue nodded and left the bracelet. Lung Ruakshu's head started to hurt when she thought about the other guy outside, who could be extremely violent. However, when she got out of the bracelet, she didn't find any trace of Tsang. Where did Tsang go? Lung Ruashue was a little scared. If she didn't pacify that little fellow, she really couldn't guarantee what Tsang would do. She was so scared that she started to search everywhere. But the result was disappointing. The group searched for a long time, even going through Demon City several times, but they still did not find a palm-sized snow-white kitten. AI. Lung Ruashue was really anxious now, and she couldn't stop sighing. "Shwetter, what's going on? Shouldn't Tsang be in the space?" Uncle Long was puzzled. How long had it been? How did Senior Tsang disappear again? Lung Ruashue sighed again before telling Uncle Long and the others everything. When everyone heard this, they were all speechless. It turned out that a certain cat had run away from home because of jealousy. Wait a minute. Run away from home? Oh my God. This was no small matter. Who knew what a certain cat would do in a fit of anger? No matter how everyone thought about it, they all felt that the situation was very serious. They understood Azure's personality too well. That fellow was not someone who could be wronged. Moreover, this grievance was given to him by Shwe. Chapter 27-24. Shwe. Did you miss me too? 3. At the thought of this, Uncle Long looked at Lung Ruashue with a look of deep sympathy. Then he sighed and said, "Shwe. Actually, you don't have to worry too much. It's probably just a momentary rage. Who knows? It might come back tomorrow. I hope so." Lung Ruashue did not think that it would be so easy. Tsang had always been willful, and this time, he had completely angered it. However, she didn't want everyone to be too worried, so she could only give them a perfunctory look. And the truth was exactly as Lung Ruashue had thought. Azure didn't return at all. It wasn't just one day, but several days in a row. This time, everyone had to admit that things were really serious. Not long after, news from the Divine Realm had reached the City of Demons. The Imperial City was attacked by unknown people, and all the walls had collapsed. Lung Ruashue and the rest didn't even need to guess to know that the unknown person in the legends was definitely Tsang. AI. Lung Ruashue, who was in the living room, had already sighed countless times. Uncle Long and the others didn't say a word. They really didn't know what to say. Fortunately, the Godlord's estate was the unlucky one this time. Otherwise, if Tsang came to Demon City and wreaked havoc, they would not be able to stop him. When they thought of this, Uncle Long and the others were extremely glad. Even if Tsang was angry, he could still distinguish between inside and outside. Shwerer, we have to find Senior Tsang as soon as possible. The longer we delay, the angrier Senior Tsang will be. After thinking about it, Master Ning couldn't help but remind him. Of course I know, but I haven't thought of how to coax it. Lung Ruashue said gloomily. If she had known, she would have gone to the god-protecting pagoda long ago. But you can't just close your eyes. I'm afraid Senior Song will be even angrier if you act like this. The master of the Ning family was speechless, but it was rare to see Shui being afraid of wolves in front and tigers in the back, and also hesitant. But when he thought of Song's bad temper, he didn't have the mood to watch a good show. How about, you guys help me think? Lung Ruoxua probed. However, when everyone heard her words, they shook their heads in unison. They couldn't figure out either. Song clearly felt that Shui was biased toward Xingju. Otherwise, he would not have left home in a fit of anger. AI, it's not easy. Lung Ruoxua also knew that things were difficult to handle. At this moment, she suddenly missed Evildoer a lot. If the demon was here, he would definitely have a way to deal with the angry Song. As if he had sensed something, the demon, who was in a very low mood in the Nether prison, suddenly had a bright light flash in his eyes, and a faint smile appeared on his lips. Shui, are you thinking of me too? Not far away, the servants who were carefully keeping a distance from the evildoer but did not dare to go too far in case their lord summoned them. When they saw their lord suddenly smile, they immediately heaved sighs of relief. How long has it been? He finally saw his lord smile. Although his lord had always been very serious, he had never been surrounded by an endless low pressure like this. This oppressive aura had even spread to the entire Nether prison, causing everyone in the Nether prison to be very careful and not dare to breathe. Man! Suddenly, the demon shouted. The servant closest to him quickly ran to the demon and said in a low voice, "Please give your orders, master. Find Mu Li for me." The demon said anxiously, "Yes, yes." The servant replied and then disappeared. Not long after, Mu Li, who had heard the news from his master, came. Seeing that his lord was in a good mood, Mu Li also relaxed. He asked with a faint smile, "My lord, is there something good? Schwetter must be missing me." The demon said matter-of-factly. When Mu Li heard this, he didn't know how to react for a moment. What do you mean by should be? Is his lord not sure? Then why did his lord order him to come? What does master need Mu Li to do? Although she was very puzzled, Mu Li knew that her lord would not call her over for no reason. After all, her lord had forbidden them from disturbing her these days. Find a way to contact Minga and the others. The demon ordered indifferently. My lord, I've been trying my best, but as you know, the rules of heaven and earth are hindering me. It'll be difficult for me to contact them. Mu Li said helplessly. Detestable rules of heaven and earth. One day, they'll beat you up so badly that even your mother won't be able to recognize you. When the demon heard this, he furiously roared at the sky. Hearing this, Mu Li couldn't help but feel a little speechless. Were there any mothers to the rules of heaven and earth? If there was, it should be chaos, right? Based on this calculation, wouldn't the regulations of the heaven and earth and their master be brothers? As soon as Mu Li thought this, a bolt of lightning as thick as a baby's arm suddenly fell from the sky. It happened to be in the direction where he was standing. Mu Li couldn't dodge in time and was directly struck by the lightning. In an instant, his entire body was charred black, and he even gave off the smell of something being burnt. Thanks fuck. He really bullied the weak and feared the strong. The one who cursed the rules of heaven and earth was his lord, so why did he strike him? Mu Li was very angry, but he didn't dare to show it. He looked at his master with a face full of resentment. His eyes were filled with tears, as if he was accusing himself of being his master's cannon fodder. However, the evildoer did not feel guilty. He calmly looked at Mu Li, who was completely black, and continued to instruct, "You have to think of a way. In short, no matter how long it takes, you have to contact him, understand?" "Yes." Mu Li quickly responded. Then, seeing that his lord had no other instructions, he immediately took his leave and went back to clean up his image. He really couldn't see anyone in his current state. After Mu Li left, the demon started to worry again and continued to release cold air. The surrounding temperature dropped several degrees in an instant. The attendants burst into tears. At the same time, Lung Ruoxua was also in a sorrowful mood. Uncle Long and the others didn't know how to comfort her, so they could only accompany her in silence. A few days passed by in a flash. During this period, the Ascender Alliance's Alliance Master had been looking for an opportunity to talk to Lung Ruoxue. However, when he saw that everyone seemed to be anxious about something, he was too embarrassed to speak. Hence, he decided to stay in Demon City for a while. Half a month later, Lung Ruoxue had finally made up her mind to look for Tsang. When Uncle Long and the others heard her decision, they almost applauded and cheered. You bastard! They did not wish to continue living such boring days. Furthermore, many of their matters in Demon City had been delayed due to Cher's bad mood. Fortunately, Cher had finally come around. Just as Uncle Long and the rest were about to say a few words to encourage Lung Ruoxue to be brave and confess her sins to Tsang, Lung Ruoxue suddenly said to everyone, I hope some of you can come with me. Woo! She was afraid of returning home and didn't dare face Tsang's anger alone. When Uncle Long and the others heard this bad news, they all burst into tears. This matter, would it be of any use if they went? After thinking for a while, under the encouraging gazes of the crowd, Uncle Long bit the bullet and said with a bit of difficulty, There's no problem for us to go with you. But do you think Senior Tsang would be happy to see us? If it knew that you didn't dare to see it alone and wanted us to accompany you, would it be even angrier? They would. Lung Ruoxue's face was covered in tears. With her understanding of Tsang, he definitely would. Moreover, she hadn't gone to find Tsang for so many days, so Tsang's anger had probably accumulated to an unimaginable degree. Woo! If she didn't seek death, she wouldn't die. Once again, Lung Ruoxue understood the profound meaning behind this sentence. In the end, under the sympathetic gazes of Uncle Long and the others, Lung Ruoxue left Demon City and headed to the God-protecting tower to look for Tsang. Seeing that Lung Ruoxue was finally willing to face reality, Uncle Long and the rest heaved a sigh of relief. One had to know that during this period of time, their days were also not good. He had to sigh with Shui, or every day. This kind of life was really not for humans. Now, they were finally free. Uncle Long and the others cheered. They were happy, but Lung Ruoxue's heart was extremely heavy. The closer she got to the God-protecting tower, the heavier her mood became. When she finally stood at the entrance of the God-protecting tower, she did not dare to go in. After pacing outside the God Protection Tower for a long time, Lung Ruoxue kept thinking about how to speak to Tsang when she saw him. In fact, she had already thought of many plans, but she was not satisfied with them. And just as she was hesitating about when to enter, someone struck up a conversation with her. The person who struck up a conversation was a young man who had just rolled out of the God-protecting pagoda. When he saw Lung Ruoxue, he hurriedly got up from the ground in a sorry state. Then, his face revealed an extremely shocked expression. After tidying up his appearance, the man then calmly walked forward and asked, Young miss, do you also want to enter the God-protecting pagoda for the trial? Of course she wasn't he. Lung Ruoxue was silent for a moment. She had no intention of acknowledging this fellow who was trying to get close to her. However, that man clearly did not recognize Lung Ruoxue and even took her silence as consent. He continued to speak to himself. I'm telling you, this God-protecting pagoda's trial is not easy to pass. I've been here for many years, but I've never succeeded. The man couldn't help but sigh as he spoke. When Lung Ruoxue heard this, she thought to herself, if you succeed, won't you become the owner of the God-protecting pagoda? She was very clear that because not many people knew about her relationship with Azure, and it was almost never made public, there were still many people who were unwilling to give up and thought that there would be great opportunities coming to the trial. Azure did not stop these people from advancing one after another, and instead took pleasure in it. The person she was looking at now was just one of them. Lung Ruoxue didn't want to pour cold water on such a persistent person. Hence, she remained silent. Who knew that the man would think that Lung Ruoxue was afraid after hearing his words, and even consoled her. But you don't have to worry too much. I've already concluded my experience in this trial. If you need it, I can pass it on to you for free. The man's words were very sincere, But Lung Ruoxue did not believe that there would be free lunch in the world. Hence, she rejected him tactfully. Thank you, but I don't need it. With that, Lung Ruoxue did not give the man any more chances to strike up a conversation and walked straight into the God-protecting pagoda. Chapter 27-25. The Formation Fanatic of the Qilin Clan. 1. After entering the God-protecting pagoda, Lung Ruoxue suddenly realized that in order to avoid being hit on, she had actually forgotten to be timid and had entered just like that. But this was good. At least it saved her from hesitating. Azure, are you there? Lung Ruoxue, who had calmed down very quickly, called out softly. No. An angry voice replied in an unpleasant tone. Lung Ruoxue broke out in a cold sweat when she heard the word not around. This was clearly Azure's voice. And he wasn't there? Was it a ghost that was not replying? Song, I know you're here. Lung Ruoxue was about to say something nice, but before she could finish her sentence, she realized that she was in another place. She was no stranger to this place. This was Azure's control center. A little white kitten was lying on the recliner and staring at her angrily. The little red flower was playing alone on the other side of the chair. It was rare to see a flower playing around. Cold sweat dripped from Lung Ruoxue's forehead. Then, she looked at Song and said gently, Azure, I'm here to take you home. Home? This is my home. Song's entire body exuded a faint sorrow, forming a sharp contrast with his previous appearance of anger. Who said that Demon City is also your home? Lung Ruoxue walked closer to Song and gently stroked Song's soft fur as she tried to please him. Oh, really? Then how could you treat me like this? You're biased. Azure Fire complained, and the sorrow on his body was instantly replaced by anger. Instantly, he became a little cat with its fur standing on end. Lung Ruoxue felt her head throb, but she still had to explain. Song, I'm not biased. In my heart, you and Qingju are equally important. Lung Ruoxue tried to placate him. Really? Then why did you only move me out of that broken bracelet? Song's eyes drooped, and he said worriedly. Ugh. Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but wipe her cold sweat. If I don't move you out, am I supposed to move Green Vessel out? That's someone else's territory, so of course they can only move an outsider like you. Lung Ruoxue carefully phrased her words. Song, the bracelet originally belonged to Green Vessel, so I had no choice but to move you outside. Otherwise, I'm really afraid that the two of you will fight. In addition, after I moved you out, I immediately came out as well, but you and the Blood Lotus Flower were both gone. These words made Lung Ruoxue feel a little resentful. She wanted to let Azure know that she cared about it a lot. In fact, even if she didn't say this, Azure was also well aware of this. Just like in the God Guardian Tower, in order to keep both sides calm, the one who would be driven out would definitely be an outsider. However, it couldn't get over this in its heart. It felt that Nyo was biased, especially when Green Vessel showed off to it that it had known Nyo for a long time. This was even more intolerable. What's the big deal? Didn't he just get to know Nyo a few days ago? Was there a need to be so smug? Song's heart was extremely unbalanced. Thanks, girl. Then tell me now, in your heart, who is more important? Me or that broken bracelet? You're all important. Lung Ruoxue hated this kind of multiple-choice question the most. No matter who she offended, she would be the unlucky one. We're not allowed to be important. You have to choose one. Azure didn't like this answer and angrily demanded. Song, I'm telling the truth. You're all the most important people to me, and there's no order to your ranking. Lung Ruoxue explained patiently. Just like my grandfather, my brother, and the rest, you are all my family. If you really want to fight, I will be the one in a difficult position. Song, you don't want me to be in a difficult position, right? Lung Ruoxue continued and pleaded pitifully. Did I make things difficult for you? When Azure heard this, he narrowed his eyes and said with an unkind expression, No, I didn't. No. Why would Song make things difficult for me? Lung Ruoxue immediately tried to please him. That's more like it. However, we haven't settled the score between us yet. I won't forgive you so easily. Seeing this, Song reminded. The moment Lung Ruoxue heard this, she felt her head throb. After coming here, seeing that Song didn't ignore her, Lung Roashue thought that Song would be fine after some coaxing. Who knew that this little guy was still angry? Sigh. She was simply helpless. Song, what can I do to make you not angry? Lung Roashue sighed softly and coaxed him. I can't help but be angry. You actually took so long to come and coax me. Song Aojia said. After he finished speaking, he even turned his little head. His cute and adorable appearance made Lung Roakshu's heart flutter. Song's current appearance was really too cute. The moment she thought of this, Lung Roakshu's hands could not help but stroke Song's soft and smooth fur again. She praised, Hee hee, Azure is too cute. Azure put on a noble and cold appearance and snorted coldly. But in his heart, he couldn't help but be secretly happy. In fact, he was deliberately acting like this because he knew very well that Neo had no resistance to cute little animals, and Neo's performance made it quite satisfied. In fact, ever since it left Demon City in a fit of anger, it had some regrets in its heart, but it couldn't bring itself to return by itself. Thus, it had been waiting in the Guardian Tower for Neo to come and find it. Who knew that time would pass day by day, and it had almost become a stone to look for Neo, but Neo still hadn't come. Such a fact caused the anger in its heart to accumulate. It even secretly swore in its heart that it would never easily forgive this hateful girl. However, when it saw Lung Roashue for itself, it realized that its anger had miraculously subsided. This made its heart feel rather unbalanced. On what basis? Neo made it angry, made it sad. Why would it forgive Neo so quickly? The result of this thought was that it became tsundere. It was like a child throwing a tantrum. The moment it saw Lung Roashue, it kept on acting tsundere. Furthermore, its entire body was exuding a hurry up and coax me. The aura. Naturally, Lung Roashue did not let it down. She began to coax it patiently. Song, who enjoyed being pampered, didn't admit that he had forgiven Neo. Lung Roashue could only say all kinds of good things, and even promised many unfair conditions before Song was finally not angry anymore. Seeing how sincere you are, I'll forgive you, Azure said with a magnanimous look. Thank you. Lung Roashue was so touched that tears welled up in her eyes. She truly felt that it wasn't easy for her. Luckily, Song didn't make things too difficult for her. Before she came here, she had thought that Song would have many different reactions. At this moment, she truly felt that Song was very kind. What's there to thank? If you weren't the one who made me angry, I wouldn't be able to forgive you so quickly. If it dares to offend me, they'll consider it a light punishment if I don't kill it. Azure warned. Ugh. If trying to kill the other party was considered a light punishment, then what was considered a heavy punishment? Even though Lung Roashue was very curious about this, she did not dare to ask. After that, she took the initiative to change the topic. Song, let's go home. Chapter 27-26. The Formation Fanatic of the Qilin Clan. 2. I can go home, but what about Little Blood? Cold pointed at Little Blood, who was happily playing alone. How about I find a place in the garden for it to stay? Lung Roashue tried to probe. The garden? How can you let Little Blood live in that kind of place? When Cold heard this, he was furious again. Lung Roashue broke out in a cold sweat. What was wrong with the garden? It was much better than the barren mountain where the blood lotus flower had once lived. Of course, he definitely couldn't say this out loud, or else he would definitely burst away. Why don't you pick a place? Lung Roashue gave the choice to Song. Let Little Blood live in the garden of your house. There's plenty of spiritual chi there, which is good for Little Blood's growth. Song said with some hesitation before adding, actually, the most suitable place is still inside that broken bracelet. Azure, that place shouldn't be able to withstand Little Blood's aura. Lung Roashue reminded him carefully, afraid that Song would think that she was biased towards Qingju. However, this time, Azure wasn't angry. He just said somewhat unhappily, It's not that I can't take it, but I'm afraid that Xiao Shue's condition might be unstable. Such a situation would happen to treasures that had just developed intelligence. Because they were still too young, sometimes they couldn't control their own aura at all. In addition, the blood lotus flower was very special and not an ordinary treasure of heaven and earth. So, in fact, the broken bracelet's worries were not without reason. It just didn't want to admit it. Was there a difference? After Lung Ruoxue heard Song's words, she madly wiped away her sweat and remained silent. Just let it live in your house. Wait until little blood can control his breath before entering the broken bracelet. Azure confirmed. After Lung Ruoxue heard this, she could finally put her heart at ease. After settling Song's matter, Lung Ruoxue returned to Demon City with great confidence. When Uncle Long and the others saw that Lung Ruoxue had returned alone, a look of pity appeared on their faces. Everyone chimed in, and he consoled Lung Ruoxue, telling her not to be anxious. He even said that one day he would be able to coax Song. Lung Ruoxue didn't know whether to laugh or cry. In the end, when she finished listening to everyone's consoling and told Uncle Long and the others that Song had been coaxed, the expressions on everyone's faces were wonderful. They had expressed their feelings wrongly. How embarrassing. Uncle Long and the others smiled awkwardly and changed the topic. Schwer, since everything's fine now, we can officially begin Demon City's celebration. Thanks, N. Lung Ruoxue nodded. She knew that Uncle Long and the others had been waiting for the city to be built so they could throw a huge celebration. It could be said that they had been looking forward to this day for a long time. Lung Ruoxue, who knew what they were thinking, naturally would not stop them. However, when Lung Ruoxue heard that Uncle Long and the others were planning to send an invitation to the Divine Master's residence, she felt a little conflicted. Although Uncle Long and the others had a good idea, Lung Ruoxue didn't think that Song Yi would be in the mood to attend Demon City's founding ceremony when he destroyed the city walls in a fit of anger. Moreover, it was impossible for Wu Cheng to send someone here. I'm afraid he's going to die of anger. However, Lung Ruoxue did not object to their invitation to the Divine Master's residence. After all, these matters had always been handled by Uncle Long and the others. She just had to be a hands-off manager. The official celebration for Demon City's establishment was scheduled to take place half a month later. This would give the various major powers enough time to arrive. Of course, they didn't care how many people arrived. They only hoped that more people would know about this matter. As for the celebration, it would be better if it was done by their own people. That way, they would be more at ease. Not long after the guild had sent out the invitations to the various major powers, the guild responsible for quests, from the main headquarters to the various branch guilds, also announced the news to the entire divine world and even the divine continent. This matter was also treated as a mission that Lung Ruoxue had wanted to issue when she went to the Imperial City previously. The headquarters then reported it to the Divine Master's residence. When Wu Jing heard that Lung Ruoxue had built a city, she did not have any other reaction other than sneering. From her point of view, so what if Lung Ruoxue had built a city? Could it be that the land of demons could replace Yu Cheng's position in the God Realm? However, after knowing that Lung Ruoxue had actually sent her an invitation, she could not help but sigh. Lung Ruoxue was really bold. Go. Why not? If Lung Ruoxue dared to invite her, she would dare to send someone over. Of course, she wouldn't go there personally. Lung Ruoxue didn't have that much face to invite her. However, when Wu Yan's decision reached Xia Yi and the other two hierarch experts, the three of them were still stunned for a long time. They were completely unable to understand God Lord Mist Ripple's intentions. God Lord Mist Ripple had actually ordered the three of them to celebrate for Lung Ruoxue. The three of them naturally didn't dare to disobey the God Lord's orders. More importantly, the three of them were interested in the Demon City that Lung Ruoxue had built. 3 days before Demon City's celebration, more than half of the various major powers representatives had already arrived. Uncle Long and the others were naturally happy to see all the forces giving them face. Originally, they had thought that it would be good if half of the people came because of the deterrence of the rhyme bitch. However, They didn't expect that apart from a few top forces from the 8 great divine regions who were on good terms with them, basically all the major, medium, and small forces had sent representatives. This time, they had also sent out a wide invitation. Apart from the forces of a certain scale, they didn't let a few small forces go. The only reason he had invited all of the factions was to increase Demon City's reputation. Otherwise, small factions wouldn't have the qualifications to participate in a gathering of this level. Those who were sent to participate in the celebration were basically influential figures from the various forces. However, these people, who thought they had seen many things, were all shocked speechless for a long time after seeing the current state of the demon's land. Shocking. It was absolutely shocking. What was the demonic land like in the past? The mountains were next to each other, and all the good places in them were occupied by the major beast clans. When humans ventured into the land of demons, they could only move around in the periphery most of the time. No one dared to go deep unless a few powerhouses dared to go in. But now, this place had become a city. Although there were still a few mountains, the current mountains were clearly different from before. At the same time, they were surrounded by a city. It could be said that the current demon city was gorgeous, majestic, and majestic. There was a city, a mountain, a water, and a forest. There was even a magic formation set up in the forest. If they didn't have someone leading the way, it would be difficult for them to enter. However, even though they were brought in, they still received a friendly reminder that the outer forest was very dangerous and it was best to stay in their homes and not wander around. Otherwise, they would be responsible for the consequences if they got lost. At first, some of the people from the other forces did not take such a warning seriously. This was because they had come here not only to participate in the celebration, but also to find out everything about this place. It would be best if they could form a map. However, after a certain disobedient faction was trapped in the forest for several days and suffered mental torture, all the factions gave up on the idea of exploring and obediently stayed in their own homes. Chapter 27:27 The Formation Fanatic of the Qilin Clan. 3. Uncle Long and the others were naturally satisfied with this result. In fact, they dared to invite all the major forces here because they were not afraid that their family's secret would be found out. But whether those people had the ability to find out or not, that was their business. It could be said that Uncle Long and the others' confidence had greatly stimulated some restless forces. They even felt that Uncle Long and the others had a backup plan. As a result, no one dared to have any other thoughts. They only waited for the celebration to begin so that they could leave this beautiful but extremely terrifying place as soon as possible. The day before the celebration, the people from the Divine Lord's estate, whom everyone had thought would not come, finally arrived. When they saw that 3 Reverent God-level experts had come to the Divine Master's residence, they were all in a mess. What was going on? Was it the rhythm of Lung Ruoxue and God, Lord Fogripple's reconciliation? The representatives of the major forces could not help but let their thoughts run wild. Uncle Long and the others were clearly surprised that the Divine Master's estate had sent someone. However, Uncle Long and the others were all smart people. When they saw Xia Yi and the other 2, they immediately went up to them warmly. After arranging accommodation for the 3 of them, Uncle Long went to find Xian Yi in private to inquire about the situation. As soon as Xian Yi saw Uncle Long, he naturally knew what he wanted to ask. He immediately said, "Don't ask me, I'm also confused. The Miss sent us here." Oh, since Xian Yi had said so, Uncle Long naturally didn't need to continue asking. Then, the 2 of them started to chat. Xian Yi was naturally concerned about who had come. When he heard that the Dragon Clan, White Tiger Clan, and Phoenix Clan had all sent their respective representatives, he couldn't help but widen his eyes in shock as he said in disbelief, "The 3 clans still dare to come? I'm not sure if they dare to or not, but I've already casually sent them an invitation." And they really did send people over. However, other than the White Tiger race, the other 2 clans are clearly much more well-behaved. Uncle Long explained with an evil smile. The White Tiger race wasn't as restrained as the other 2 races. This was also because during this period of time, some of the White Tiger race's clansmen had been staying here to work and earn medicinal pills. They could be considered to have become familiar with them. Furthermore, the White Tiger King was still in their hands, so the other party wouldn't dare to be disobedient. They've suffered such a huge blow last time. They have no choice but to be honest. Xian Yi smiled in understanding. By the way, are the Dragon Emperor and the Phoenix King hiding in the Divine Master's estate? Uncle Long nodded. Then, he suddenly thought of the two guys who were the main culprits and asked, "As far as I know, he's not here." Xian Yi said honestly. "That's weird. Which mouse hole are those two old things hiding in?" Uncle Long said to himself, "What's the hurry? He'll come out eventually. They're no match for you. And as long as Rhyme Ice doesn't make a move, they won't be able to cause any trouble." Xian Yi was not worried at all. That's true. Uncle Long also agreed. Soon, the two of them changed to another topic of conversation. The two old friends reminisced about the past in a relaxed mood for a while before Uncle Long got up and left. The next day, it was the day of the celebration. However, a few hours before the ceremony officially began, Uncle Long suddenly received a report that someone had come. He was currently running around in the forest like a headless fly. After asking about the situation and finding out that the person was quite powerful, Uncle Long went out to welcome him personally. But when he walked into the forest and caught a glimpse of the man's clothes, Uncle Long was stunned. It was a handsome man in his 30s. He had an extraordinary bearing, and his every move was that of a superior. However, at this moment, the man's expression was very excited. Although there was a trace of confusion on his face, Uncle Long could see that the man was having a great time playing alone. Uncle Long felt that if he was not mistaken, this man should be breaking the formation in the forest. Originally, this was a maze-like forest. Later on, Schwerer added some illusionary formations in it. As a result, the paths here were even more difficult to grasp. However, the man in front of him was clearly quite interested in everything here. Thanks, however, Schweer's formation was passed down from Master Yu. It wasn't that easy to break. Uncle Long suddenly felt helpless. However, this man's identity was extraordinary. He was definitely an important guest, so Uncle Long really did not want this man to waste his time here. With this thought in mind, Uncle Long walked toward the man. However, the man clearly didn't pay any attention to the people behind him. He was still completely focused on the formation in the forest. Strange. How did this happen? The man muttered to himself as he observed the formation that appeared from time to time. He was really a formation fanatic. Uncle Long was helpless and could only take the initiative to say, "Your Excellency from the Qilin clan, I've specially come to pick you up." Uncle Long had addressed the man as Your Excellency because he did not know his name. Furthermore, although this formation fanatic of the Qilin clan was a godly, venerable rank beast like him, this man's strength was definitely higher than his. Hence, he had addressed the man as Your Excellency willingly. It couldn't be helped. This was the foundation of the Qilin clan. As one of the 4 strongest king-level divine beast clans among the beast clans, the Qilin clan was relatively low-key compared to the other 3 clans. However, this low-key of theirs contained a sense of luxury, so low-key that no one dared to look down on them. It could be said that among the 4 great king divine beast clans, the Qilin clan had the highest status. The Qilin clan was also the only beast clan that had not been successfully broken through by Wu Xian in the incident with Master Yu. Uncle Long admired them for this. However, the Qilin clan's reproductive ability was not as strong as the other 3 clans. Thus, the number of members of the Qilin clan was actually quite small. Until now, it was said that the number of members of the Qilin clan was less than 100. After thinking about this, Uncle Long realized that the other party didn't respond at all. He had no choice but to speak again. "Your Excellency from the Qilin race, I heard you. Go play somewhere else, and don't disturb me while I'm studying the formation." The man interrupted Uncle Long before he could finish. Uncle Long looked as if he had expected this and continued to remind him, "Your Excellency, you're here to attend our city building celebration, right? It's about to start. I know, but I haven't figured out how to solve this formation yet. The man replied, his head still lowered and very focused. Uncle Long was helpless. He had never seen a beastie that loved formations so much. One had to know that almost all the beasts were idiots at formations. After thinking for a while, Uncle Long could only throw out a bait. This array was set up by my Shwe. If you're really interested in arrays, you can have a good match with Shwe after the celebration. As expected, the man immediately raised his head after hearing Uncle Long's words. He stared at Uncle Long with bright eyes and said, Shwe, is it Lung Ruashue? Uncle Long nodded. Seeing this, the man stood up straight and confirmed with a worried expression, You said it yourself. Once your celebration is over, I will immediately look for Lung Ruashue to spar with her on array techniques. Hearing the man's words, Uncle Long suddenly realized that he had caused Shwe a lot of trouble. Looking at this man's infatuated expression, Shwe probably had something to do. But at this moment, Uncle Long couldn't care so much. After all, the celebration was more important. This was the first time that Demon City had displayed its glory to the entire immortal realm. He absolutely couldn't delay. With this thought in mind, Uncle Long brought the man, who was obviously still reluctant to part with the formation in the forest, back to the main residence without any guilt. At this time, the main residence was already crowded with people. However, the man's appearance still caused a commotion among everyone. This was because the totem on the corner of this man's clothes was a mighty golden qilin with its head held high. In the entire divine world, only the Qilin clan would dare to embroider a qilin on their clothes. When the White Tiger race's first elder saw this man, he was so shocked that his jaw almost fell to the ground. He rubbed his eyes with all his might, and in the next second, he hurriedly ran over to the man and gave a deep bow, saying with extreme respect, Old ancestor, why are you here? Oh my God, this ancestor had actually come out for a walk. Could it be that the Qilin clan was about to change? The White Tiger first elder was so shocked that he broke out in a cold sweat. One had to know that this person's status was definitely one of the top in the Qilin race. Although he couldn't compare to the Qilin race leader, he wasn't that far off. More importantly, this person had never cared about worldly affairs and was only obsessed with formations. Therefore, the Grand Elder of the White Tiger race couldn't understand why this ancestor would come here. More importantly, this person was of the same generation as the previous White Tiger King who had been sealed. Hence, even if this person was not from the White Tiger clan, he still had to respectfully address him as Old Ancestor. Of course, everyone present only knew that this man was from the Qilin race, but they didn't know his identity. When they saw the White Tiger race's Great Elder calling the other party Old Ancestor, they were all surprised for a long time. However, whether it was the man or the White Tiger race's Great Elder, they felt that there was no need to explain to them. Therefore, everyone's reaction was ignored. However, when Uncle Long heard the White Tiger first elder call this man Old Ancestor, he thought to himself, this man's status is indeed high. He was very satisfied that the Qilin clan had sent such a high-ranking clansman. Then, Uncle Long politely invited the man to take a seat. The man didn't act coy. He smiled and nodded before sitting down. Then he picked up an exquisite piece of dessert from the plate on the table beside him and tasted it. Then, his eyes revealed a surprised light. Your place really lives up to its reputation. The desserts are really delicious. It seems that I didn't come in vain. The man said happily. He had two hobbies in his life. One was formations, and the other was eating. It could be considered a coincidence that he had come to Demon City. Chapter 27-28 City Building Celebration 1. In fact, he had just come out of seclusion not long ago. However, after he came out of his closed-door cultivation, he had heard the clan members mention Lung Ruakshu's name. What caught his attention the most was that Lung Ruashue was actually Master Yes' disciple. After finding out about Lung Ruakshu's identity, he started to pay attention to her. This time, when he heard that the little girl wanted to build a city and the Qilin clan had received the invitation, he volunteered to come. Of course, the main reason he came was because he was curious about Lung Ruashue. However, after knowing that he was going to participate in the celebration of Demon City's founding, the Chelan clansmen's expressions were all rather interesting and filled with disbelief. Looking at his clansmen's shocked expressions, the man suddenly felt that it was quite interesting to occasionally do something unexpected. In the entire firmament, the person who had done the most unexpected things was naturally the famous and popular Lung Ruoxue. As such, his interest in Lung Ruoxue was even stronger. Now that he had heard from the dragon whale that the little girl knew how to use formations and that there was delicious food here, the man felt that this trip had not been in vain. When Uncle Long heard the man's words, he was speechless. Why is this guy either staring at the array or interested in eating? However, they were all foodies. Foodies had always had something in common with each other, so when the two foodies got together, they naturally began to talk about food as if no one was around. The more the two talked, the more congenial they became. The crowd of people who were watching with their mouths agape had all become background boards and were completely ignored. When Lung Ruoxue felt that it was about time, she went from the room to the living room. She saw everyone sitting there like fools, while Uncle Long was having a great chat with an unknown man. It was obvious that the two of them were having a great time. Originally, Lung Ruoxue didn't want to disturb the two of them when she saw that they were chatting so happily. However, the auspicious time for the celebration was about to arrive, and Uncle Long still had to host the celebration. If they continued to chat like this, they would be wasting time. Lung Ruoxue had no choice but to interrupt them. "I'm sorry to disturb you, Uncle Long. It's almost time." Lung Ruoxue reminded him helplessly. "Arg, look at my memory. I'm sorry, everyone, I almost forgot the time." When Uncle Long saw that Lung Ruoxue had arrived, he hurriedly stood up and apologized to everyone present. However, as to how much sincerity he had in his apology, it depended on the person. Of course, everyone expressed that they didn't mind. At this moment, Uncle Long pulled Lung Ruoxue over and introduced her to her with a smile. This is Mr. Shui Mo from the Chelan race." Then he turned to the man and said, "Sir Shui Mo, this is my little Shui. Hello, Mr. Shui Mo." Lung Ruoxue could tell that this man had extraordinary abilities, so she spoke very politely. "Hello, little girl. I've heard of your name for a long time. Let's have a good sparring when we have time." Shui Mo's eyes glowed with joy. This little girl was not an ordinary person. She was indeed worthy of being the disciple chosen by the master. In a few breaths, Shui Mo had already sized up Lung Ruoxue and made a quick judgment. He had a good impression of her. However, Lung Ruoxue was confused by Shui Mo's words. Why did this powerful senior of the Chelan clan want to spar with someone the moment they met? This was not a good habit. She was a little speechless. More importantly, this person's strength was clearly above hers. As such, Lung Ruoxue could not understand why this person would target her. Thanks at this moment, she naturally didn't know that Shui Mo wanted to spar with her not in terms of martial arts, but in terms of formation. However, no matter how helpless she felt, she still said politely, "If there's a chance, I'll definitely exchange pointers with Senior." Of course, these were just polite words. However, Shui Mo was very serious and decided that he would take action as soon as they finished their business. Just like that, unknowingly, Lung Ruoxue had been targeted by a rather persistent Chelan. A moment later, the celebration began as scheduled. Lung Ruoxue and the rest headed to the ceremony venue first. It was located in a specially open public square in Demon City, and the decorations were so gorgeous that it was almost impossible to look at. Although many of the people present had seen big scenes, it was clear that the scale of Demon City celebration was beyond their expectations. The venue was decorated with exotic flowers, each competing to bloom. The ground was covered with a red carpet, raising the entire celebration to a higher level. Of course, this was not the most important thing. The most eye-catching thing was the crystal fruit plates on the podium. Those fruits were obviously not ordinary. Each fruit was covered with a layer of faint fluorescent light, and rich spiritual energy was flowing around the fruit. It was really too rich. No, these fruits were not something that could be obtained with money. With shock, everyone took their seats. As the MC, Uncle Long started to give a long and eloquent speech once the time was up. Lung Ruoxue, who was sitting in the VIP area, listened to Uncle Long's emotional speech and couldn't help but sigh in her heart. She had known Uncle Long for so long, but she never knew that he could actually say so many things on the surface. Just as Lung Ruoxue's thoughts were running wild, she suddenly heard Uncle Long's voice. Next, let's welcome our city lord, Lung Ruoxue, to give a speech to everyone. In an instant, everyone's eyes turned to her. Lung Ruoxue was stunned. Was there a need for her to speak? On such an important day, it was only right for her to say a few words since she was crowned as the city lord. However, if she remembered correctly, there was no part of the celebration process where she, the city lord, would give a speech. Uncle Long had definitely added scenes without permission. When he saw Lung Ruoxue smiling evilly at Uncle Long, he felt extremely helpless. Uncle Long had learned his lesson. He had also launched a surprise attack. She was really not prepared for this. However, she was naturally not afraid of such a scene. With a faint smile, Lung Ruoxue stood up from the VIP seats and walked straight up to the high platform that had been set up in advance. After a moment of silence, she opened her mouth with a very polite tone. Thank you, everyone, for coming to our Demon City's founding ceremony today. From today onwards, I officially declare the establishment of Demon City. Pausing for a moment, she looked around and continued, I don't know if everyone is aware, but the reason why our Demon City has today's scale is all thanks to Rhyme Ice. So, I have to thank her properly. If it wasn't for her sneak attack on us a few months ago, I'm afraid we wouldn't have thought of building the land of demons into a demon city. I hope that the three hierarch gods of the Lord God's Manor will convey my demon city's deep gratitude to Rhyme when you return. At the same time, I would like to thank the Lord God's Manor for sending people to witness the great moment of our demon city's construction. I hope that everyone will have a good time today. After saying that, she walked down the stage that was covered with a red carpet. Chapter 2729, City Building Celebration 2. Lung Ruoxue's words were very short, but she had specially mentioned Wu Xian and even said that she wanted to thank the other party. When the crowd heard this, they could not help but turn their eyes to the three reverent god-level experts from the Divine Master's estate who were also seated in the VIP seats. Xian Yi and the others immediately felt uneasy. They could clearly feel that the gazes of the crowd contained a trace of gloating. Of course, there was also probing. This made the three of them extremely helpless. Although not many people in the divine world knew about the sneak attack by Wu Cheng a few months ago, and the news was not widely spread due to the control of the God Lord's estate, this did not mean that some of the top clans did not know the ins and outs of the matter. After all, some things did not need to be said. After the previous incident, the Divine Master's estate had maintained their silence. Lung Ruoxue and the others were still safe and sound. The top forces must have known what this meant. Therefore, at this moment, the three of them really regretted coming to the celebration. They were here to be watched. This fact made the three of them feel their faces burning. Of course, the three of them were reverent god-level cultivators, after all. Many curious people did not dare to be too presumptuous and stare at them. However, from Lung Ruoxue's words, they could more or less make out some clues. Not only did the two sides not shake hands and make peace, but they seemed to have deepened their hatred instead. This time, a considerable number of forces also regretted coming here to join the fun. If the Divine Master knew about this, would he find trouble with them? However, everyone's thoughts did not last long. Very soon, their attention was completely diverted. After Lung Ruoxue's speech, Uncle Long said a few more polite words, and the performance that they had arranged in advance officially began. Most of the participants were beastie, and they only performed the simplest skills such as cornice and soaring into the air. However, it was this simple action that completely stunned all the factions present, making them dumbfounded. No one had expected that Beastie would be so brilliant just by showing off his talent. Right, what was this called? Acrobatic? That's right, acrobatics. To most of the people in the firmament, this term was extremely new. One had to know that this was something that only existed in Lung Ruoxu's previous life. A considerable portion of the people who had come to participate in the ceremony today were the natives of the firmament. In Lung Ruoxu's heart, these natives had never seen such a novel thing before. Therefore, she had specially rehearsed a large acrobatic show according to the specialties of the magical beasts. Uncle Long and the others had never seen this acrobatic performance before, so they were all shocked when it was performed. Wonderful! It was really too exciting. No one was willing to blink their eyes, afraid that they would miss any wonderful action. As the performance began, exquisite food was served to the table in front of everyone, but at this time, no one was in the mood to eat. They were all staring at the wonderful, exciting, and nerve-wracking acrobatic show. After an unknown period of time, the heart-stirring acrobatic performance finally ended. Only then did everyone have the chance to let out a long sigh of relief, but they still had a stunned expression on their faces. After a while, the aroma of the food finally attracted their attention. Thanks only then did everyone start to taste the food. After a mouthful of delicious food, everyone was once again amazed. What is this? Why is it so delicious? Looking at the disbelieving expressions on everyone's faces, Lung Ruoxu couldn't help but think to herself, which corner did this group of grandmothers crawl out from? They really haven't seen the world. Of course, Lung Ruoxu's bad mood did not affect everyone's interest in tasting the delicious food. They ate very happily and watched the performance with great enjoyment. After watching the exciting acrobatic show, it was naturally time for the auction. No one had expected that there would be such an important event like an auction today. This was too unexpected. More importantly, they were not prepared at all. If they could not bid for something good, they would regret it to death. As it turned out, after the auction began, everyone was indeed regretting it. This was because every item displayed for auction was an item that could not be bought even with 1,000 gold. However, everyone was embarrassed and really couldn't afford it. Uncle Long could naturally see the embarrassment in most people's hearts. After a faint smile, he gave everyone a piece of good news. Don't worry, everyone. Today's auction is mainly to give everyone a surprise. Therefore, you can bid as much as you want for the items you've taken a fancy to. The bill can be settled later after you bid for the items. These words were definitely good news for everyone. When everyone heard this, they immediately became excited and rubbed their fists, ready to go all out. Uncle Long was very happy to see the atmosphere getting more and more heated. When the auction officially began, the items they auctioned, such as pills, equipment, and some medicinal herbs, were all sold at a high price. The results were naturally satisfactory. Many of the powers that had come to participate in Demon City celebration had obtained unexpected gains. They wouldn't be able to forget the exciting programs that Demon City had specially arranged for them for a long time. The city-building celebration started in the morning and continued into the late night. As such, after the celebration ended, the participating forces were still not satisfied, especially those who had not managed to get anything. They all pestered Uncle Long in unison, hoping that he would bring out more good things. However, Uncle Long was very insistent and told them in advance not to be anxious. In the future, they would organize regular auctions at the Yao Clan Tower, especially for supreme-grade pills and other rare items. They would definitely have a chance to bid for them. After hearing this, the crowd reluctantly let go of Uncle Long. After a night's rest, the major forces began to bid farewell the next day. Demon City also gradually became quiet. After yesterday, the City of Demons was finally officially established in the realm of gods. Uncle Long and the others had been busy for a long time. Although they were tired, they were quite satisfied to see the celebration yesterday so successful. However, after sending most of the people away, Uncle Long and the others all collapsed from exhaustion. When Lung Ruoxu walked into the living room, she saw Uncle Long and the rest lying limply on their chairs. When she got closer, she said helplessly, "Uncle Long, if you're too tired, you can go back to your room and rest." "No, there's a guest here." Uncle Long refused. There are still people who haven't left?" Lung Ruoxue was a little surprised. Could it be people from the Weapon Masters Guild and the Alchemist Guild? Although there were many guests yesterday, she still remembered the two representatives from the headquarters. When they saw the first elder and the other irresponsible guys, they all cried. They cried not because they missed first elder and the others, but because these few big shots from the two headquarters didn't return home and were growing up here. Chapter 2730, City Building Celebration 3. However, no matter how the representatives of the two headquarters complained that they were currently without a leader, the Great Elder and the others were unmoved. Right at this moment, Shen Nua's voice rang in Lung Ruoxue's ears again. Shwe, didn't you say there was a centipede? Where was it? Quickly show me. I'm in need of it now. As soon as she finished speaking, Shen Nua ran into the living room in a hurry, then pulled Lung Ruoxue and ran out. Uncle Long watched the two of them leave and swallowed the words he was about to say. Shen Nua pulled Lung Ruoxue all the way back to the courtyard that was specially used for their office. There were already a few pairs of eyes waiting for them. Shwe, where's the centipede? Lui Wei and Jiang Ning asked at the same time when they saw Lung Ruoxue. It was obvious that they couldn't wait anymore. Lung Ruoxue looked at them helplessly. Aren't these people a little too impatient? She had only just remembered yesterday that she had caught a 10,000-year centipede. She didn't expect that they would remember it today. What, you guys want to use it too? Lung Ruoxue blinked her beautiful eyes as she asked. Hee, we're researching a medicine that just so happens to require the 10,000-year centipede's poison. Shwe, you should have collected it, right? Don't tell us that there's none. Jiang Ning said immediately. The expression on his face was as if he was saying, if you don't, you'll be disappointed. Yes, there is, but Lung Ruoxue was only halfway through her sentence when she turned to First Elder and asked, First Elder, do you need it too? I want a piece of the centipede's outer shell to be used for artifact refining. The First Elder said with a smile. Oh, Lung Ruoxue then looked at Lu Feng and Mo Yen. There was no need to ask these two. They must also be thinking about the centipede's shell. Smiling calmly, Lung Ruoxue shifted her thoughts, and a huge centipede was moved out of her house. When the Great Elder and the others saw the size of the centipede, they couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. Good heavens, it's indeed a 10,000-year centipede. It had actually grown so big. Ayaya, this centipede shell was good stuff. The Great Elder's eyes were shining. He couldn't help but reach out his wolf claws and touch the black centipede's shiny hard shell. Lu Feng and Mo Yin were also very interested in the centipede's shell. After the First Elder made his move, the two of them also stretched out their wolf claws and stared at their prey with bright eyes. Then they said in unison, Shwe, the centipede's quality is pretty good. Its shell can definitely be made into a few sets of top-grade armor. Yes, I know, but I can't let you use its shell yet. Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly. Upon hearing this, the three craftsmen, led by the First Elder, immediately exploded with dissatisfaction. Little girl, you're not such a petty person. You can't even share a centipede like this with us? First Elder looked at Lung Ruoxue with a look of despair, as though she had said something she should not have. Little Shwe, can you share some with us? It's so big, you can't use it yourself. Lu Feng begged coquettishly. Yeah, I want one too. Mo Yin was more direct. It's not that I'm being stingy, but I really can't give it to you now. Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. This guy was still alive. However, before she could explain, Lung Ruoxue heard First Elder suddenly exclaim and jump up. There was still a look of lingering fear on his face, and it was obvious that he had suffered a great shock. It's moving, the First Elder stuttered. What moved? Lui Wei and the others were baffled, not understanding what he was talking about. The centipede is moving. The Great Elder pointed at the motionless centipede on the ground. It can't be. Everyone was shocked, and their eyes widened in disbelief, especially Lu Feng. He did not believe the First Elder's words at all. He had touched the centipede just now, but why did he not feel it move? Thinking up to this point, Lu Feng even gave Centipede a few hard kicks before turning to the crowd. Look, it's not alive at all. First Elder, you're seeing things. You brat, you're the one who's seeing things. This guy is really alive. When First Elder heard Lu Feng's words, he was furious. Is that so? Lu Feng then turned around and carefully examined the centipede, his face filled with suspicion. Seeing that Lu Feng did not seem to believe him, the great elder could not take it anymore. He pulled Lung Ruoxue over and said, "Girl, you're the one who took out this centipede, so you have the most right to speak. Do you think it's alive?" Lung Ruoxue smiled faintly when she heard this. She then stepped forward and kicked the giant centipede. "If you're still playing dead, it'll really tear you apart. Don't. Ancestor, I was wrong." Hearing this, the black centipede that was lying on the ground immediately struggled to get up and begged. "Thanks, it's really alive." At this point, Lu Feng had no choice but to believe it. Since the centipede had already spoken, he couldn't possibly lie to himself. But soon after, he looked at Lung Ruoxue in disappointment and grumbled, What do we do now?" "Salad. Didn't you want to use it to refine pills and weapons? Take it. I'm giving it to you," Lung Ruoxue said nonchalantly. When the centipede heard this, it immediately burst into tears and wailed, "Ancestor, I'm already so well-behaved. So why do you still want to kill me? Sob, please leave me a way out. I don't want to die." Hearing Centipede's plea, First Elder and the others were all speechless. This guy was crying so miserably that they couldn't bring themselves to do it. However, the huge temptation of the centipede's shell made them unwilling to give up just like that. For a moment, they were extremely conflicted. First Elder looked at the centipede, then turned to look at Lung Ruoxue. He sighed and said, "Girl, you've given us a difficult problem. No need to make things difficult for me. This guy is my captive. If you want to kill him, just do it. Besides, I kept it for my own use." Lung Ruoxue said nonchalantly, "Then, why don't you crack it first, and then we'll split it?" After hesitating for a moment, First Elder couldn't help but suggest, Don't. Ancestors, please let me go. I'll be your slave. You won't regret keeping me alive. I promise." Hearing the Grand Elder's words, Centipede immediately began to plead with the others. Looking at the giant centipede with its huge eyes filled with tears, the First Elder and the others were in a dilemma. To be honest, they really felt that the centipede's greatest use was to refine pills and weapons. It's definitely a good material. Unfortunately, why was a living one? Grand Elder and the others were not bloodthirsty people, so they really couldn't bear to kill Beastie, who had no enmity with them. Turning their heads, First Elder and the others no longer looked at the centipede. As the saying goes, out of sight, out of mind. If they continued to look, they were afraid that they would not be able to control the greed in their hearts. "AI, it was a good material. Girl, since it's still alive, let's let it go for now." Sighing heavily, the First Elder said with a face full of reluctance, "It's up to you. I'm giving it to you anyway. However, remember to let me know before you kill it. Let me tame it first. It'll also be a contribution to my beast-taming technique." Lung Ruoxue reminded him with a smile. "Oh, okay." First Elder and the others wanted to cry, but had no tears. Could they refuse this gift? He really regretted asking Shui for the centipede. Not only could he not use it immediately, but he also had to keep it. It was really a mistake. The few of them were filled with regret. After that, seeing that there was nothing else, Lung Ruoxue bade farewell to First Elder and the others before leaving behind only First Elder and a few others. They looked at the giant centipede with a face full of worry. "What should I do with you?" After staring at the black centipede for a long time, the great elder sighed. "Don't kill me. I could do many things. I can give you my poison. Really, I promise to be obedient and listen to you. Just don't kill me." The giant centipede immediately expressed its determination, then spit out some poison first. After hearing this, Jiang Ning said rudely, "Damn it, how could he forget? If they wanted to extract the poison, they didn't even need to kill the centipede. As long as it was willing to cooperate, it would be fine." And now, the centipede was obviously very willing to cooperate. The centipede nodded and then opened its mouth. Jiangning also took out a small white jade bottle and put it in front of the centipede's mouth. Not long after, the centipede vomited an entire bottle of poison. It was so tired that it was gasping for breath. It had to be said that extracting poison was also physical work. You've worked hard. Take a good rest. We'll continue later. Jiangning patted the centipede's head and praised it. The black centipede's face turned green when it heard the words continue later. However, it did not dare to resist and could only nod. The time that followed slowly passed by as he continued to extract poison from his body in Jiangning. The giant centipede was finally exhausted after being drained of countless bottles of poison. It fell to the ground and couldn't get up again. Even so, Jiangning didn't give up his right to exploit it. He even held a small white bottle in his hand and waited for it to continue spitting out poison. Seeing this, the big black centipede even wanted to die. Woo, can you not abuse and exploit the vulnerable group like this? They were really bullying the centipede. If this went on, it would be better to let these people directly kill it in the first place, so that it would not have to suffer so much. At this moment, the giant centipede hated its begging just now. The current him was living a life worse than death. In the end, the giant centipede passed out from overexertion. This time, it was definitely not pretending. After glancing at the giant centipede that had died from exhaustion, the first elder and the others gave Jiangning a thumbs up. Amazing. Don't worship me. I really didn't do anything. Jiangning felt a little embarrassed when he saw the teasing look in their eyes. Chapter 27:31. Are the two of you here for a blind date? 1. You've done a lot, really. The great elder laughed evilly. Today, he finally realized how talented Jiangning was. Such a huge 10,000-year-old centipede had made him faint from exhaustion. One should know that not everyone had the ability to do such a thing. At least he couldn't as he thought about it. He looked at Jiangning with even more admiration. Then, he added, Jiangning, you can continue after it wakes up. It's best if it's dead from exhaustion. Then we can use its shell. Yes, good luck. It was rare that Lu Feng did not go against the great elder. Mo Yin took it for granted. Hey, I say, you guys are going too far. Let me be the bad guy, and you guys enjoy the fruits of my labor. Jiangning clenched his fists and roared. However, the few people present ignored his anger. More importantly, they knew the temperament of Jiangning. That guy would not get angry over such a matter. He was just a paper tiger. Just like that, Jiangning was given the heavy responsibility. The black centipede's miserable life had just begun. On the other side, after Lung Ruoxua left with the Grand Elder and the others, she returned to see Uncle Long. Seeing that Uncle Long and the others were still slumped in their chairs, too lazy to move, Lung Ruoxua could only shake her head helplessly. Shinnuo and the others are willing to let you come back. Uncle Long smiled when he saw Lung Ruoxua. Yes, I gave him the centipede. I'm fine now. Lung Ruoxua simply explained. They're fine, but I'm busy. Uncle Long said seriously. Speak. What do you need me to do? Lung Ruoxua sighed softly. She knew it. The Ascender Alliance and His Excellency Shui Mo haven't left yet. They're all looking for you. Uncle Long said directly. Sir Shui Mo really wants to spar with me. Lung Ruoxua said helplessly. The Ascender Alliance was looking for her because of Zhang Miao and the others. However, she was a little conflicted about Shui Mo. This can't be helped. He just came to find you. Uncle Long said sympathetically. Lung Ruoxua was speechless. I've finally found you. At this moment, Shui Mo's voice came from behind Lung Ruoxua. Lung Ruoxua's heart skipped a beat. She turned around gloomily and greeted Shui Mo with a faint smile. Hello, Mr. Shui Mo. Little girl, don't stand on ceremony with me. Let's go and spar. With that, Shui Mo reached out to grab Lung Ruoxua and was about to walk out of the hall. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxua was beyond depressed. Today, including Shenhua, she had already been dragged away by people without any explanation twice. Just as they were pulled to the entrance of the living room, the two of them met the Ascender Alliance's General Alliance Master, and Li Jing. Upon seeing the two of them, Lung Ruoxua looked as if she had found her savior. She quickly turned to Shui Mo and said, "Mr. Shui Mo, I'm sorry, but we can't spar now. I have something to deal with. What could be more important than our sparring?" Hearing this, Shui Mo snorted and glanced at the Alliance Master and Li Jing. The two of them felt a chill in their hearts as they laughed bitterly in their hearts. They had made His Excellency, Shui Mo, unhappy. Was this considered being unjustly attacked? Thanks, all right. They indeed had something to discuss with Lung Ruoxua, but they did not dare to snatch her from Shui Mo. Although everyone was a reverent god, there was still a gap between reverent god level. As for His Excellency Shui Mo, he was definitely a top reverent god level figure. He couldn't afford to offend him. At the thought of this, the General Alliance Master said with great insight, "Although we have some business with Miss Lung, we have to follow the order of things. Since it was Mr. Shui Mo who found Lung Ruoxua first, please go first. We're not in a hurry." "You bastard. You guys aren't anxious? You came later?" When Lung Ruoxua heard the Alliance Master's words, the anger in her heart immediately rose. This lackey was definitely a model of bullying the weak and fearing the strong. Lung Ruoxua was furious. The consequences would be severe. However, Shui Mo was obviously very satisfied with the general leader's tactfulness. He patted the Alliance Master's shoulder in praise and praised, "You're not bad. You're a promising child. Your Ascender Alliance will definitely have a bright future." With that, he didn't stand on ceremony and pulled away the unwilling Lung Ruoxua. Before she left, Lung Ruoxua glared daggers at the Alliance Master without holding back in order to vent her anger. After watching the two of them leave, the Alliance Master nudged Li Jing, who was beside him, and whispered, "Did I offend Lung Ruoxua? Why is she glaring at me? Not only did I offend her, I've also offended her to the core." Li Jing covered his face and said helplessly, "Sometimes he really admired the Alliance Master's judgment. He was so focused on not offending the Qilin that he forgot about Lung Ruoxua's existence." Could it be that the Alliance Master really couldn't see Lung Ruoxua's unwillingness at all? However, it seemed that he couldn't blame the Alliance Master too much. After all, most people were like this. They were used to paying attention to the strong and would unconsciously ignore the existence of the weak. However, the crucial point was that Lung Ruoxua was not a weakling. Li Jing even felt that Lung Ruoxua was scarier than Shui Mo. If you offended Shui Mo, Shui Mo would just ignore you. However, if you offended Lung Ruoxua, the consequences, Li Jing didn't even dare to imagine. He believed that if he didn't help Lung Ruoxua out today, Zhang Miao and the rest wouldn't be able to get it back so easily. "I didn't say anything. How did I offend her?" The Alliance Master pondered for a while, but he still couldn't understand Li Jing's words. Li Jing looked at the Alliance Master deeply, then shook his head and sighed. He then turned around and left. Ugh! The Alliance Master, who had been left behind, still had a silly expression on his face. After being stunned for a long time, he couldn't figure it out, so he left gloomily. At this moment, Lung Ruoxua had been dragged to her residence by Shui Mo. After entering the room, Shui Mo smiled at Lung Ruoxua and said, "As long as you satisfy me, they'll let you go?" Lung Ruoxua's face darkened. Why did these words sound so awkward? Wasn't it just a spar? However, no matter how awkward it was, Lung Ruoxua had to nod her head and accept her fate. "Senior, how do you want to compare notes? I heard that you're proficient in formations, and I also know a little about formations. How about we have a competition?" Shui Mo said impatiently. "A formation? You want to spar with me on formations?" Lung Ruoxua blinked her eyes. She didn't expect Shui Mo to be competing in this. However, did Beastie also know about formations? Seeing through Lung Ruoxua's doubts, Shui Mo said with pride, "Don't look down on me. Even though I'm self-taught, I think I'm pretty good. Come, let's compete." "All right," Lung Ruoxua agreed. Since they were competing in array techniques, she naturally wasn't afraid. However, What surprised her was that this Qilin was a self-taught Qilin. It really wasn't simple. Chapter 2732. Are the two of you here for a blind date? 2. Then we'll each come up with a formation and let the other side solve it. Whoever solves it first wins, okay? Seeing that Lung Ruoxue had agreed, Shui Mo continued to discuss with her. Sure, I don't have any problems with that. Lung Ruoxue nodded. However, she felt that she was being a bully. One must know that her master had left her with quite a number of array techniques. Even though she had yet to master all of them, she believed that she definitely knew more than this Qilin who had self-taught himself about array techniques. In this comparison, she would definitely be the one with the complete victory. Ugh, wouldn't this be an unfair victory? Lung Ruoxue was a little hesitant, but she told him the truth in the end. Mr. Shui Mo, my formation skills are all for my master. Are you sure you want to compete with me? What? You're looking down on me. I know you have a good master, but we haven't even started the competition yet, so it's still not certain who will win or lose, right? Shui Mo said confidently. I'm not looking down on you. I just don't want to win an unfair battle, so I'm telling you in advance. Lung Ruoxue explained. I see. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Shui Mo said nonchalantly. However, Lung Ruoxue's reminder improved his impression of her. After that, the two of them each set up a formation. Shui Mo's formation was a defensive one, while Lung Ruoxue's was an offensive one. Because it was the first formation of the competition, both of them were at the level of testing each other. Neither of them revealed the formation to be too profound, and almost at the same time, the two of them broke the formation at the same time. Not bad. Shui Mo's eyes lit up as he stared at Lung Ruoxue, his face full of excitement. Same to you. However, this is only the first one. Let's continue. Lung Ruoxue reminded him with a faint smile. All right. Shui Mo was in high spirits and naturally wanted this. In the following time, the two of them used all kinds of formations, be it offensive, defensive, or spirit-gathering formations. As long as they could think of any formation that could be broken, the two of them gave it to each other. Moreover, the difficulty of the formation would naturally increase. After an unknown amount of time, the competition between the two of them continued. As the difficulty of the array increased, the speed of the two of them unraveling the array slowed down significantly. However, Lung Ruoxue had a powerful master, so even if Shui Mo's array was very difficult, it was only a matter of time for her. However, Shui Mo took longer and longer to think about Lung Ruoxue's array. When Shui Mo finally solved the last step of one of Lung Ruoxue's formations, he saw that Lung Ruoxue had already solved the formation and was looking at him calmly. Shui Mo smiled and said, I've lost. Sir Shui Mo's formation skills are very high. If I didn't have a good master, I wouldn't be your match. Lung Ruoxue chuckled. She had also benefited a lot from the battle with Shui Mo. More importantly, Shui Mo's self-taught ability had given her a lot of inspiration. Little girl, being too humble is a sign of hypocrisy. Shui Mo joked. I'm serious. I'll give this to you. Let's continue sparring when we have time. Lung Ruoxue took out a book and passed it to Shui Mo. Shui Mo took it subconsciously and flipped it open. His expression changed immediately. Isn't this the Master Yes knowledge on formations? Was she really giving it to him? This was too precious. Shui Mo, who was holding the book with both hands, was so excited that he couldn't speak. Thanks after a long while, he finally recovered. He looked at Lung Ruoxue in disbelief and asked, You're really giving this to me? No, I can't accept it. It's too precious. Although Shui Mo was very envious of that book on formations, he could not accept a reward without doing anything. He did not have anything of equal value to exchange with Lung Ruoxue, so he felt ashamed to accept it. However, even though he said that he would not accept it, he still stared at the book, his eyes reluctant to leave. I'm not giving this to you for free. You have to study it well and then spar with me. You must know that my master's knowledge of formations is quite profound. Although I've already read most of it, I hope you can find new things from it. That way, it will give me more inspiration. Lung Ruoxue revealed her motive. As the saying goes, two heads are better than one. Among the people Lung Ruoxua knew, the one who was so obsessed with formations was definitely this Qilin. Moreover, although she had not known this Qilin for a long time, she could still trust the character of the Qilin race. However, Lung Ruoxua still added, "Only you can read this book. You can't give it to anyone else. Can you promise me that?" "Yes, yes, I know. I won't tell anyone." Shui Mo understood what Lung Ruoxua meant and quickly promised. In fact, there were not many people in the divine realm who knew about formation arrays and were also interested in them. This was because formation arrays were really too profound and difficult to understand. Many people did not have the patience to study them. Therefore, it was indeed very rare for people who loved to study formation arrays to find a like-minded person to study formation arrays with. Lung Ruoxu's words were exactly what Shui Mo was thinking. Shui Mo was also very happy to find a like-minded friend. In order to live up to his expectations, and also because he was too obsessed with formations, he couldn't wait to read the book as soon as he got it. Shui Mo was so focused on his book that he couldn't see anything else. Seeing how infatuated he was, Lung Ruoxua smiled helplessly and quietly left his room. When she left the room and breathed in the fresh air, Lung Ruoxua suddenly realized that she had been sparring with Shui Mo for God knows how long. If she remembered correctly, it was daytime when Shui Mo had pulled her spar with him. Why was it still daytime? Could it be that it's already the second day? Ugh! Lung Ruoxua couldn't help but wipe off her cold sweat. In any case, the time would definitely not be short. Lung Ruoxua walked out of Shui Mo's courtyard and into the living room. "Swear, Sir Shui Mo has finally let you off." Uncle Long was the only one in the living room. When he saw Lung Ruoxua, he couldn't help but tease her. "Yup, Uncle Long, why are you alone today? Did the others go back to their rooms to sleep?" Lung Ruoxua asked curiously. "Swear, do you know how many days it has been since you were dragged away by Sir Shui Mo?" After hearing Lung Ruoxu's words, Uncle Long asked helplessly. "A few days." Lung Ruoxua blinked her eyes. She was just about to ask about this. "It'll be a month in 5 days." Uncle Long sighed. "It's been that long." Lung Ruoxua was speechless. Why didn't she feel anything at all? From the looks of it, cultivation really knew no time. Yes, the Ascender Alliance's chief is about to go crazy from waiting, but he doesn't dare to disturb you, hee. Uncle Long wanted to laugh at the thought of the old man running around in circles like a headless fly. Then who is to blame? Who was the one who asked me to spar with Sir Shui Mo first? When Lung Ruoxua thought of this, she still held a grudge. Chapter 2733. Are the two of you here for a blind date? 3. Back then, Lung Ruoxua felt that she would be letting him down if she didn't let him wait for her. "Yup, you didn't come out for so long," and he was so anxious, but there was nothing he could do. You didn't see his expression. "It's so funny." Uncle Long vividly described to Lung Ruoxua the General Master's expression at that time, and Lung Ruoxua felt very relieved after hearing it. However, even so, she didn't plan to meet the General Alliance Master immediately. However, the Alliance Master heard the news from somewhere and immediately ran to the living room after knowing that she had appeared. The moment he saw Lung Ruoxua, the Alliance Master, who was still panting, immediately said impatiently, "Miss Lung, I have something to discuss with you. Let's have a talk." He had finally met her. This time, he would not let her off, even if he died. "I'm sorry, Chief. I'm not free right now." Lung Ruoxua rejected without even thinking. "Don't be like this. Miss Lung, I've been waiting for you for a long time." Hearing Lung Ruoxu's words, the Alliance Master wanted to cry, but had no tears. He really regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. If he had known that Shui Mo had dragged Lung Ruoxua away for so long, he would not have been so humble. Unfortunately, he had realized it a little too late. Lung Ruoxua was obviously still angry at him. Therefore, he only glanced at the General Alliance Master indifferently and said, "Alliance Master, did I make you wait for so long?" "Woo, it's all my fault." When the Alliance Master heard this, he quickly admitted his mistake. However, Lung Ruoxue still did not give him a good look. It was only now that he believed Li Jing's words. He had really offended Lung Ruoxue badly. "It's good that you know," Lung Ruoxue said indifferently. "Miss Lung, please be magnanimous and forgive me." The Alliance Master continued to whisper and even acted like a mistreated wife as she pleaded. Seeing him like this, Lung Ruoxue was slightly flustered. She thought to herself, this Alliance Master is indeed abnormal. He actually learned how to act pitiful. However, was it acceptable for a tall and manly man to make such an expression? All right, if you have anything to say, say it. Lung Ruoxue couldn't take it anymore. Now, she just wanted to get rid of this General Alliance Master as soon as possible, so that he wouldn't go crazy here. Zhang Miao and the others. I wonder what it will take for Miss Lung to return them to me. As soon as the Alliance Master heard that there was a chance, he immediately asked without beating around the bush. He couldn't help but think that Li Jing had taught him to act pitiful. It was indeed useful. You still want them? Lung Ruoxue blinked her eyes as she asked in surprise. Ugh, what was the meaning of this? Can I not? The Alliance Master felt that he obviously couldn't keep up with Lung Ruoxue's pace, so he could only stare at her in a daze. Those people are really not of much use. Are you sure you want to take them back? Seeing that he did not understand, Lung Ruoxue could only make her words even more clear. After hearing this, the Alliance Master couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat on his forehead. Even if it was useless, he still had to take it back. What's the point of leaving her with Lung Ruoxue? No matter what, they're all members of the Ascender Alliance. I can't just leave them be. The Alliance Master said in a low voice. If that's the case, then I won't be polite. Lung Ruoxue nodded. The Alliance Master was taken aback once again. He didn't understand how Lung Ruoxue was going to be so rude. Then he heard Lung Ruoxue say, "You can redeem Zhang Miao and the others. This is the price list. Pay according to the above, and you can take them away." After that, the Alliance Master received a thin piece of paper filled with the items needed for the ransom. After reading it, his face turned pale and his body trembled. Missing this, I have to go back and discuss with the Vice President and the elders. I will take my leave first. After a long time, the Alliance Master stammered. Then, like a zombie, he left the living room with stiff limbs. When he saw the Alliance Master come in high spirits, but leave in such a defeated manner, Uncle Long was extremely curious about what Lung Ruoxue had done to him. He could not help but ask, "Shue, or what did you do to him? Why is his body so stiff? Didn't I give him a list?" After he sees that list, he'll probably think that there's no need to redeem those trash. Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly. As expected, Lung Ruoxue soon heard the news that the Alliance Master and Li Jing had left. However, when Uncle Long received the news, he was a little conflicted. If the Ascender Alliance really didn't want those trash, they wouldn't be of much use. But what Uncle Long didn't know was that the Alliance Master and Li Jing didn't leave in a hurry because they were so scared that they didn't want Zhang Miao and the others anymore. They just felt that the matter was of great importance and needed to go back to discuss it immediately. Thanks, however, after they returned, the opinions of the higher-ups of the Ascender Alliance were very big. At least more than half of them did not agree to pay an extremely high price to redeem those who made their own decisions. As a result, this matter was naturally put on hold. Li Jing had also privately informed Lung Ruoxue and the others of this result. However, Lung Ruoxue and the others did not care about the Ascender Alliance's decision at all. They naturally did what they had to do. Shui Mo was still focused on studying Master Yes insights on formations and had no time to disturb Lung Ruoxue. Thus, Lung Ruoxue resumed her days of refining pills and weapons. 2 months passed in the blink of an eye. One day, Lung Ruoxue suddenly received a report that someone from the Qilin clan was requesting an audience. When she heard that it was the Qilin clan, Lung Ruoxue immediately put down the thing she was doing and headed to the living room. At this moment, Uncle Long and the rest were sitting in the living room. However, the moment Lung Ruoxue entered the living room, she realized that the atmosphere was obviously not good. In his surprise, the two men who had their backs to him had already turned their heads. "You're Lung Ruoshue?" one of the men suddenly said. Lung Ruoshue nodded as she sized up the two unfamiliar men. Needless to say, the beast's human forms were all extremely beautiful men. The two men in front of her were no exception. However, what surprised Lung Ruoshue was that these two men actually had the power of a godly venerable rank. How many reverent god-level experts did the Qilin clan have? She had already seen 3 during this period of time. It seemed like the Qilin race was indeed full of talents. Lung Ruoshue sighed. Just as Lung Ruoshue was sizing up the two men were also fastidiously sizing her up. After staring at her for a long time, the man who had spoken earlier said, "Human, I really can't see what's so special about you. Why is he so famous?" Ugh. Lung Ruoshue was a little depressed. Should she continue this conversation? However, after some thought, Lung Ruoshue still replied, "There's nothing special about me. I'm just an ordinary human being." Oomph. At least you have self-awareness. You're indeed too weak. A weak woman like you definitely won't be able to find a partner in our Qilin clan, the man said in a serious tone. After he finished speaking, Lung Ruoxu's gloominess deepened. It was fine to say that she was weak, but what did this have to do with finding a partner? Moreover, was this considered a personal attack? Seeing that Lung Ruoxu's expression did not look too good, the other man hurriedly explained, "Miss Lung, please don't misunderstand. Feng Yi didn't mean anything else. He just wanted to say that you don't meet the criteria of our Qilin race for a mate. We men of the Qilin race prefer tall and strong women. Only such women can better bear the children of the Qilin race." Lung Ruoshue was speechless. She really felt that it was better if the man didn't explain. After he explained, she felt even more depressed. "You bastard. Are you here to pick a partner? Why was he so picky with her? And even if you're here to choose a partner, I don't want to be chosen by you, do I?" Hence, Lung Ruoshue could not understand what these two men were up to. What were they trying to do? Lung Ruoshue was so angry that she was going crazy. However, Uncle Long and the others were laughing to themselves. They didn't expect the two from the Qilin clan to say this first when they saw Lung Ruoshue. However, they had heard of the unique aesthetic of the Qilin clan and had seen it with their own eyes today. Furthermore, the person they were nitpicking on was little Shui. When they saw Lung Ruoxu's expression as if she was about to go crazy, Uncle Long and the others suddenly felt a sense of love. After all, there were not many people who could anger Shui on their first meeting. Lung Ruoshue was truly infuriated. After a long silence, she took a few deep breaths and told herself not to be calculated with these two idiots. She then opened her pink lips and asked, "Are the two of you here for a blind date?" "Blind date? Of course not," Feng Yi said quickly, his face still showing a look of disdain. "Then what are you guys doing here?" Lung Ruoshue almost roared. "Our Qilin race's ancestor has been in Demon City for over 2 months, but he hasn't returned yet. As such, we've been ordered to investigate this matter." Feng Yi said honestly, "Investigate? Do you think we've killed him?" When Lung Ruoshue heard this, her anger flared up. "Murder? Of course not. Even if all of you were to join forces, you would still not be a match for my ancestor. We're only here to investigate where our ancestor went," Feng Yi said with a look of disdain. "You're saying that all of us here are no match for Sir Shui Mo?" Hearing this, Lung Ruoshue squinted her eyes and said in a dangerous tone, "How detestable! Not only did this fellow criticize her and look down on her, but he was also looking down on everyone in Demon City. Really, Uncle can endure it, but Aunt can't." Just as Lung Ruoshue was about to launch an attack, the man beside Feng Yi saw that the situation was not looking good and quickly explained, "Miss Lung, please don't misunderstand. I didn't misunderstand. I heard him clearly. That's what he meant." Lung Ruoshue didn't even give the other party a chance to finish his sentence before she interrupted him. Ugh, the man didn't know what to say. He turned and glared at Feng Yi, blaming him for not knowing how to speak. But in fact, his words were not any better. He just did not realize it. At this moment, the man heard Lung Ruoshue pointing at Feng Sun and saying, since you look down on all of us here, then he'll challenge you to a one-on-one fight. Chapter 2734. If you lose, he'll marry you one-on-one. Hearing Lung Ruoxu's words, Feng Sun couldn't help but widen his eyes. His face was full of shock, and he couldn't help but think to himself, is this woman out of her mind? She, a divine emperor, was actually challenging him, a godly venerable rank expert, one-on-one? Not only was Feng Yi surprised, even the other man had a shocked look on his face. It was obvious that both of them felt that Lung Ruoxu was not normal. Could it be that they had triggered him? Miss Lung, please calm down. A one-on-one fight is not a joke. The man couldn't help but remind her kindly. That's right. I refuse to fight you one-on-one. Feng Yi agreed. What, are you scared? Lung Ruoxu provoked. What a joke. Why would I be afraid? I'm just afraid that it'd be bad if I accidentally hurt a weak woman like you. What if you can't get married and come to me? Feng Yi said with an infuriating look. When Lung Ruoxu heard this, she was so angry that she wanted to beat someone up. No, it was beating up a beast. You bastard. Who did he think she was? Even if she couldn't get married, she wouldn't blame an idiot, okay? Since you're not afraid, then let's have a one-on-one fight. Don't worry, even if I can't get married, I won't rely on you. Lung Ruoxu suppressed her anger as she spoke. She was planning to teach this fellow a lesson later on. This stupid beastie really did not know how to talk. I see. Then what if you lose? Feng Yi was tempted. He had long heard of how powerful Lung Ruoxu was. If he had the chance to let her experience the experts of the Qilin clan, he would be very willing. When he returned, he might even have the capital to show off. If you lose, they'll pay you 1 million top-grade crystals. Lung Ruoxu replied without hesitation. Feng Yi's eyes lit up when he heard that. He was very satisfied with Lung Ruoxu's words. Top-grade crystal. He liked it. It's settled then. Afraid that she would go back on her words, Feng Yi immediately said, yes, but if I lose, they'll pay you 1 million top-grade crystals. What if you lose? Lung Ruoxu asked calmly. How could I possibly lose? Feng Yi said confidently. I don't care how you lost. I just want to ask you, what will you give me if you lose? This way, our competition will be fair. Lung Ruoxu asked stubbornly. She wasn't that stupid to just pay the price and let this Kirin take advantage of her. I don't have 1 million top-grade crystal stones. How about I marry you if I lose? After thinking for a while, Feng Yi made up his mind. When he said this, his face was full of struggle and unwillingness, as if he had suffered a great grievance. Everyone present, including Lung Ruoxu, was in a state of confusion when they heard this. This bet? Let's count it as a bet. Isn't it a little too big? Uncle Long and the others were so scared that their little hearts were trembling. They prayed from the bottom of their hearts that Shui would still lose to this Qilin. They weren't betraying others. However, they felt that if Shui really won and this Kirin insisted on marrying her, the mistress of the dark world who was currently somewhere would probably flip out. At the thought of this, Uncle Long and the others couldn't help but shiver. The consequences would be too terrifying. While Uncle Long and the rest were having wild thoughts, Lung Ruoxu's forehead was filled with black lines. To think that this Qilin could come up with such an idea. More importantly, what are you trying to do with that reluctant look on your face? Could it be that it was a grievance for him to marry her? It was wrong. It was wrong. What was she thinking? Pulling back her furious thoughts that had drifted to the horizon, Lung Ruoxu was about to reject the other party's suggestion. However, before she could speak, an even angrier voice rang in everyone's ears. You bastard! Where did this toad that wants to eat swan meat come from? Thanks, as she spoke, a white bolt of lightning shot into Lung Ruoxu's arms. Then, she glared at Feng Yi with her teeth and claws bared. When Uncle Long and the others saw that Song had actually come, they knew that things were bad. But in front of Song, they didn't dare to say anything and could only try their best to pretend to be invisible. Where did this little kitten come from? It's so cute. Seeing that it was a snow-white kitten speaking, Feng Sun reached out his finger to tease it out of habit. Back in his tribe, He had always comforted the angry little Kylan in this way. Unfortunately, he had forgotten that the kitten in front of him was not a cub of their race. As a result, as soon as his fingers stretched out, Song immediately clawed back without hesitation. Seeing this, Feng could only quickly retract his fingers. But even though he was very fast, he was not as fast as Song Chu's claws, so 2 thin claw marks were left on his fingers. He's really wild. Although he was scratched, Feng Yi was not angry. Kutsong was angry. You bastard. He actually teased it like a cat. Although it looked like a cat now, it wasn't a real cat. So, Song immediately decided that he hated this guy who didn't have good eyes. More importantly, this guy actually wanted to marry his girl? Oof. In your dreams. In your dreams. You're the wild one. Your entire family is wild. You toad. Azure said hatefully. Toads? Was he talking about him? Feng Yi was very depressed. Although he was not the most handsome man in the tribe, he was in the top 10 in the Qilin tribe. Who knew how many female Qilin had a crush on him? How did he become a toad when it came to this little kitten? Furthermore, he was clearly praising the cat. But why did this little kitten turn around and scold him? Feng Yi felt extremely wronged. Lung Roashua couldn't bear to see Qilin's teary eyes, as if it had suffered a lot of grievances. She urged Song, Song, he looks down on all of us from the land of evil demons. Go and bite him ruthlessly. As long as she thought of releasing the Azure and biting the Qilin, Lung Roashua felt that this scene was especially lovely. However, when Song heard this, he turned around with a constipated look and glared at Lung Roashua. Girl, I'm not a dog. Even if he's not a dog, he can still bite him. Lung Roashua said weakly. I won tea. He was too stinky. At most, he'll scratch him. Azure bargained. That works too. Lung Roashua agreed. Excuse me, are you guys discussing biting me or scratching me? At this moment, Feng Yi, who felt that something was wrong, interrupted. Correct, but no reward. Lung Roashua nodded with a smile. How could you do this? Feng Yi's face was filled with grief and indignation. Then, he reminded her, we haven't had a one-on-one yet. Didn't you want a one-on-one fight? I do want a one-on-one fight, but I'm not satisfied with your conditions. Lung Roashua sighed. Why not? I'm such a beautiful man. What are you not satisfied with? You should know that you don't fit our Qilin race's taste. If it wasn't for the fact that I couldn't take out 1 million top-grade crystals, I wouldn't be willing to sacrifice myself like this. Seeing Lung Ruoxu's unwillingness, Feng Yi seemed to feel even more aggrieved. He wasn't willing to either, okay? However, he felt that a stunningly beautiful man like him should be worth at least 1 million top-grade crystals, right? More importantly, he didn't think he would lose. Since he couldn't lose, what did it matter if he said that, right? Chapter 2735. If you lose, he'll marry you. 2. Feng Yi's plan was very good, but he had to face Lung Ruoxua. Lung Ruoxua, who was also very confident in her own abilities, also felt that she would win. As such, she would naturally not agree to his conditions. Azure was even more unhappy. In his heart, no one was worthy of his girl. One had to know that only that stinky evildoer could barely obtain his approval. So what was this Qilin? You toad, don't even think about eating my girl's swan meat. Don't have any ideas about my girl, understand? At the same time, he roared. I'm not a toad, and I don't have any ideas about your girl. She's not my type. I've also said that this is the greatest price I can pay. It's 1 million top-grade crystals. Feng Yi was furious. This little kitten looked quite cute on the outside, but why was her mouth so vicious? She called him a toad again and again. She really couldn't stand it. Oof. Feng Yi really felt that if he didn't get angry, the man and cat would really think that he was easy to bully. So you're only worth 1 million top-grade crystals. Hearing him say this, Azure's face was filled with disdain. Of course it's more than that. Feng Yi quickly said, then you don't have to sacrifice so much. There's really no need. Lung Roashua couldn't wait for him to take back his words. Otherwise, she would die of depression. But I don't have 1 million top-grade crystals for you. Although he knew that he would not lose, Feng Yi had to say this. He even had some hope that Lung Ruoxue would be generous and tell him that he did not need to pay. But such a thought was obviously daydreaming. Then don't fight my girl one-on-one. How about we fight one-on-one? If you lose, you'll be my slave for the rest of your life. How about it? Before Lung Ruoxue could speak, Song suggested with a smirk. You? Feng Yi couldn't help but blink and looked at Song up and down. Can you do it? With your small body, can you withstand my kick? You bastard. Who said I can't? Who dares to say I can't do it? I can't scratch him to death. When Cold One heard that there were beasts suspecting that he couldn't do it, his anger rose. After that, it gestured with its little paw and said to Feng Sun, Kid, they'll let you know if I can do it or not. All you need to do now is to tell me if you dare to fight me one-on-one. Why wouldn't I dare? Let's make this clear. What if you lose? Feng Yi said without any suspicion. If I lose, my girl will pay you 2 million top-grade crystals. Song said generously. Deal. Feng Yi agreed. When Uncle Long and the others heard this, they couldn't help but show sympathy in their eyes. They truly felt that Song and Lung Ruoxue, that bad girl, were working together to scheme against the silly boy. Poor Feng Yi. He actually fell into a trap like this. However, Feng didn't understand why Uncle Long and the others looked at him so differently. He thought that Uncle Long and the others were worried about the little kitten. However, after scheming against Feng Yi, Lung Ruoxue still felt that she had not vented her anger. She then had her eyes on another man. She was all smiles as she asked the other man in a very kind manner. And you are? I'm Bing Xiao of the Qilin clan. The man introduced himself. Bing? Lung Ruoxue was stunned for a moment before she asked, Shall we have a one-on-one? Thanks Ice Cloud was silent and speechless. In his heart, he couldn't help but wonder if Lung Ruoxue was addicted to one-on-one combat. Let's have a one-on-one too. Seeing that Bing Xiao did not respond, Lung Ruoxue asked again. I don't think so. The corner of Bing Xiao's mouth twitched. He was obviously provoked. He did not think that he had offended Lung Ruoxue like Feng Yi. Why did Lung Ruoxue have her eyes on him? Bing Xiao couldn't understand. However, Lung Ruoxue clearly had no intention of letting him off. She said directly, If you're willing to fight me one-on-one, as long as you win, they'll pay you 10 million top-grade crystals. How about it? 10 million? Uncle Long and the others were shocked. Schweer's cannonball was really big. He just didn't know if Ice Cloud could withstand it. When Ice Cloud heard the price, he was so shocked that he couldn't say anything. When Feng Yi heard the price, he was also shocked, but what followed was a strong sense of envy, jealousy, and hatred. Before Bing Xiao could react, he shouted angrily, Why is he only giving me 10 million while I'm only giving 2 million? You want to hear the truth? Lung Ruoxue raised her brows and asked indifferently. I must hear the truth. Feng Yi roared. You're not even worth 2 million. However, I have to give face to Azure. Since it said that it will pay you 2 million if it loses, of course, I have to pay. Lung Ruoxue said honestly. But her truth was a huge blow to Feng Yi. You? Feng Yi pointed at Lung Ruoxue. He was so angry that his eyes were wide open. He could not form a complete sentence for a long time. You what? Come, let's have a one-on-one. Not wanting Feng Yi to cause trouble for his girl, Song didn't say a word. He directly picked up Feng Yi and teleported away. Lung Ruoxue and the rest were rather indifferent to this scene, but Bing Xiao was extremely shocked. Feng Yi was a supreme god. How was it possible for a cat to grab her clothes and drag her away? After witnessing this scene, Bing Xiao was even more unwilling to fight Lung Ruoxue one-on-one. He told Lung Ruoxue tactfully, Miss Lung, we're here to look for the old ancestor, so it's better not to have a one-on-one fight. Since you insist on refusing, then I won't force you. Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. She was well aware that Song's actions must have frightened Bing Xiao. This was something that could not be helped. For a cat to drag a reverent god away, it was indeed quite scary. However, Song definitely didn't think that his actions would scare Ice Cloud. Otherwise, it wouldn't have taken Feng Yi away without saying anything. When Song brought Feng Yi back, Feng Yi's image had changed. The handsome man who had originally looked noble, cold, and extraordinary, was now no different from a beggar. The gorgeous clothes on his body had also been torn into strips of cloth, hanging on his body on the verge of falling at any time. In addition, his originally extremely handsome face was also full of claw marks, looking simply too horrible to look at. Moreover, Feng Ye's mental state was clearly not good. As soon as Feng Yi saw Bing Xiao, he couldn't help but hug him and cry. As he cried, he choked. Well, that's too scary. It was too terrifying. It was simply not human. It was a demon. I want to leave this place. It's too dangerous here. This isn't a place we should be at. I want to go home. Listening to Feng Ye's tearful complaints, Bing Xiao's forehead was already full of cold sweat. Needless to say, Feng Yi must have suffered a great shock. Otherwise, he would not be like this, holding him and crying like a helpless little boy. Chapter 27:36. If you lose, I'll marry you. 3. At this moment, he suddenly felt extremely fortunate. He was lucky that he had resisted the temptation of 10 million top-grade crystals and did not agree to Lung Ruoxu's one-on-one challenge. Otherwise, he might be in the same situation as Feng Yi. Patting Feng Ye's back, Bing Xiao comforted him silently. Seeing this, Tsang laid comfortably in Lung Ruoxu's arms and grinned. Little Feng Yi, you can't leave me. You've forgotten that you lost to me, so you'll have to be my slave for the rest of your life. That's right. Thinking of this, Bing Xiao sympathized with Feng Yi even more. As for Feng Yi, he could not take this blow. His eyes rolled back and he fainted. But even when he fainted, Tsang still waved his claws and pulled Feng Yi over from Ice Cloud's side. He raised a small claw and said to Ice Cloud, He can't leave. He belongs to me now. Bing Xiao nodded helplessly. He couldn't meddle in Feng Yi's affairs. I want to know the whereabouts of our ancestor. Since things had come to this, Bing Xiao could only return to the main topic. He's currently staying in the guest courtyard. If you want to see him, I can try to see if I can invite him out. Lung Ruoxue didn't make things difficult for Ice Cloud. The old ancestor is still here. Ice Cloud was shocked. Of course. Lung Ruoxue nodded. That old Qilin wouldn't leave, even if they were to chase it away. The truth was just as Lung Ruoxue had thought. When she had sent someone to invite Shui Mo, the answer she got was that His Excellency Shui Mo was not free. Ice Cloud also heard the report. After sighing helplessly, he requested, I would like to meet the ancestor personally. Is that possible? He's your family's ancestor, not my prisoner. What's wrong with that? Lung Ruoxue was helpless when she heard Bing Xiao's words. Thank you. Bing Xiao was still very polite. AI, Feng Yi had already died here, so how could he still be so rude? Then, Lung Ruoxue personally brought Bing Xiao to Shui Mo's residence. Lung Ruoxue knocked on the door of Shui Mo's room. Senior, he said. Little girl, quickly come in. Hearing Lung Ruoxue's voice, Shui Mo was obviously very excited. When Lung Ruoxue brought Bing Xiao into the room, Shui Mo started explaining the formation he had just broken without a second word. Bing Xiao was completely ignored. Seeing that his ancestor didn't even notice him, Bing Xiao felt helpless. Now he finally knew why the old ancestor had not returned to the clan for so long. He was studying formations here. By the time Shui Mo and Lung Ruoxue had finished their discussion on formations, the sky had already turned dark. At this moment, Shui Mo finally noticed the existence of Ice Cloud and asked in surprise, Ice Cloud? What did you get here? Old ancestor. I came in with Miss Lung. Ice Cloud was speechless. Oh, you're not as eye-catching as the little girl. No wonder I didn't see you. But what are you doing here? Shui Mo asked in confusion. Bing Xiao was silent for a moment, then explained, the clan saw that the ancestor had not returned for so long, so they sent Feng Yi and me to find out where the ancestor is. You want to know my whereabouts? Don't tell me I'm going to lose it. Shui Mo was helpless when he heard this reason. He wasn't a 3-year-old child. Did he have to keep such a close eye on him? Ancestor, you know that the divine realm isn't peaceful. Bing Xiao was about to defend his clan, but was interrupted by Shui Mo. So what if it's not peaceful? I'm very safe here with the little girl. Even Rhyme doesn't dare to come here. At least not now. Right, little girl? Shui Mo turned to ask Long Ruoxue. Yes, the ripple, which is injured, so she won't be looking for trouble with me for the time being. Of course, I don't plan on looking for trouble with her at the moment. We're like water from a well and water from a river. Long Ruoxue nodded in agreement. You heard that. Shui Mo proudly raised his head like Bing Xiao. Bing Xiao didn't know what to say. This old ancestor had always been willful and reckless, doing things as he pleased. Sometimes, it really made the clansmen feel helpless, but this old ancestor was extremely important regardless of his identity and status. He was also the other person that the Qilin clan had to protect other than their clan leader. Thanks, old ancestor. Bing Xiao wanted to say something, but Shui Mo obviously didn't have time to deal with him. Since you've seen me, hurry up and leave. Don't delay my research on formations. With that, Shui Mo went back to his own business. Bing Xiao had no choice but to leave Shui Mo's room with Long Ruoxue. When he returned to the living room, Bing Xiao was still sighing. Feng Yi, who was still in the living room, had been woken up. Seeing the ice cloud, Feng Yi couldn't help but cry again. What did he mean by a single misstep would result in eternal hatred? He was the best example. You say he's fine, but why is he looking down on this and that? Now, not only did he stir up a hornet's nest, but he also got himself in trouble. At this moment, he finally understood why Long Ruoxue refused to agree to his proposal of marrying her if he lost. It turned out that she had already known about this. It was a pity that he was like a silly boy, jumping into a pit like this. Woo! He also understood what Uncle Long and the others were looking at him with sympathy for. But it was too late to understand now. Regret. He truly regretted it. He regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. Seeing Bing Xiao, Feng Yi pulled him over and asked in a low voice, You didn't agree to fight that woman one-on-one, did you? I'm telling you, I suspect that she deliberately dug a hole for us to jump in. It had to be said that Feng Yi was still a good friend, and the Qilin race was indeed very united. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so concerned about what happened to Bing Xiao. Hearing this, Bing Xiao's mouth twitched. Don't worry, I didn't agree to it. That's good. What do I do? Please help me think of a way. I don't want to stay here, and I don't want to be a cat's servant. Seeing that Bing Xiao was fine, Feng Yi recalled his tragic experience. I think you should stay here for the time being. After thinking for a while, Ice Cloud said, Why? Feng Yi was a little angry. Damn Ice Fiend, he's so disloyal. I care so much about him, but he want me to stay here and work like a slave? Woo. He didn't want to. The ancestor is here. It looks like you don't want to go back. It's good that you're staying here to serve old Grandmadam, and at the same time, you can bond with Long Ruoxue and the others. Perhaps you'll be free when they're happy. Ice Cloud suggested. It seems very reasonable. Feng Yi thought for a while before saying, Do you think I would trick you? Ice Cloud said in a bad mood. How can that be? You're my best buddy. How could I leave you to die? Feng Yi tried to please him. At least you understand. Ice Cloud said, satisfied. Understand. Feng Yi quickly agreed. After a short exchange, Bing Xiao easily convinced the originally unwilling Feng Yi. Then, he turned to Long Ruoxue and said, Miss Long, since I know that the old ancestor is studying the array here, then I have nothing to worry about. I will take my leave and return to the clan first. All right, he said. Long Ruoxue nodded and personally sent Ice Cloud out of Demon City. As for Feng Yi, he could only watch as Ice Cloud left before he resigned himself to his fate and stayed behind. At first, Feng Yi had consoled himself by saying that he was willing to stay and not make a scene because of his ancestor. But when he really stayed, he was surprised to find that the days in Demon City were so blissful. There was delicious food every day, and all kinds of precious fruits were available. He could eat as much as he wanted. This kind of life was really so happy that he didn't think about home. The only flaw was that he could always hear miserable and painful screams in his room. After asking around, he found out that the screams were from Demon City's enemies. He became even more obedient after knowing that. In addition, although Tsang had won and wanted him to work like a horse for the rest of his life, Tsang clearly didn't have the mood to care about him. Thus, In a sense, Song's nominal servant, was basically a person who had nothing to do. As for Lung Ruoxue, ever since she sent Bing Xiao away, she had disappeared without a trace. It was said that she had gone into closed-door cultivation. 3 months later, the Qilin clan had sent their clansmen over again. But this time, it wasn't Bing Xiao, who they knew, but another unfamiliar man. In the living room, Uncle Long received the man and assessed his strength. He was speechless when he saw that he was another reverent god-level cultivator. Did the Qilin clan not have any other clansmen with strength? Why was it that every time someone came, it was a reverent god-level beast? Uncle Long couldn't figure it out, but he was too embarrassed to ask what the Qilin race meant, so he could only ask the man's purpose for coming. After hearing Uncle Long's words, the man took out an invitation card and handed it over with a smile. The Qilin clan has solemnly invited Miss Lung Ruoxue as a guest. Hearing this, Uncle Long was so surprised that he couldn't close his mouth. Did I hear wrong? The Qilin race, which had always kept a low profile and didn't like to have too much contact with people, actually invited little Shui, to be a guest. Although it was unexpected, Uncle Long felt that it was definitely a good thing. Although Shui Mo and Feng Yi were both in Demon City, one of them was a formation fanatic and a foodie. Other than formations and food, he did not care about anything else. Feng Yi was even more stupid. He often offended people with his words and did not know how to read people's expressions. Therefore, it was better to visit the Qilin race personally than to have more contact with the two. The opportunity to go to the Qilin clan was definitely hard to come by. More importantly, unless the Qilin clan personally invited them, no one would have the chance to go to their base camp. If they had taken the initiative to ask for a visit, they would not have agreed at all. Humans aren't welcome in the first place, so how could I let you go home? Wasn't that just daydreaming? Chapter 2737, Devil's Forest 1. Thus, Uncle Long immediately agreed to the invitation and said that he would head to the Qilin clan's territory as soon as possible. However, the person from the Qilin race was obviously a little impatient. After knowing Uncle Long's plan, he said tactfully, "I don't think we should wait any longer. As the saying goes, it's better to come now than to choose a day. You guys should come with me now. Leave now." Uncle Long opened his mouth speechlessly and thought, isn't this a little too impatient? If they didn't know, wouldn't they suspect that they were up to no good? However, Uncle Long believed that the Qilin race wouldn't have any bad intentions. After all, the Qilin race had a good reputation in the divine realm. However, he was afraid that he would not be able to go along with the other party's wishes on this matter. After making up some words, Uncle Long said very vaguely, "Isn't it a little too rushed to leave now? We were not prepared at all. What are you all preparing for? They'll help you." The man was very enthusiastic. Uncle Long broke out in a cold sweat. Too enthusiastic, what the hell? This time, Uncle Long didn't dare to follow this guy to the Qilin clan immediately. Who knew what was going on there? As for the preparations, we can do it ourselves. However, Shui is currently in closed-door cultivation. I don't know when she will come out. Uncle Long had no choice but to use this excuse. Then what do we do? The man's eyes widened, and he looked at Uncle Long. We can only wait for her to come out of seclusion. Once she comes out, we will immediately head to the Qilin clan. Uncle Long promised. I see. It seems that I can only stay here for the time being. You will not welcome me when you set off together, right? The man said after thinking for a moment. No, you're welcome. Hearing that the man wanted to stay, Uncle Long could only feel helpless. That's good. By the way, can I see the ancestor? Everyone in our clan misses him. The man asked. Sir Shui Mo has been studying formations. I don't know if he'd want to see you. Uncle Long was in a difficult position. He couldn't make the decision for the old Qilin. It doesn't matter. You just have to bring me to his residence. The man said disapprovingly. That's not a problem. Uncle Long nodded and brought the man to Shui Mo's house. When they arrived at Shui Mo's room, Uncle Long was about to knock on the door when he heard an angry roar from the room. Go away. Don't disturb me. As soon as he finished shouting, the door of the room opened with a whoosh. Then Uncle Long and the man saw a man fly out from inside. Ugh. To be precise, he was thrown out. And this person was none other than Feng Yi, who had nothing to do all day. Thanks, Feng Yi was thrown out of the room in an extremely embarrassing position and landed in front of the man. Seeing a pair of feet suddenly appear in front of him, Feng Yi subconsciously raised his head. Then his expression changed, and he stood up from the ground with a whoosh. He roared, "Ice Cube, why are you here? How detestable! This was so embarrassing." Feng Yi was very depressed. It was fine if someone saw his embarrassing state, but the person who saw it was his archenemy, which was something he couldn't accept. "I'm not called Ice Cube. Please call me Ice Cloud, sire," the man said in all seriousness. "Bah, why should I call you your excellency? We all have the same status in the clan." Feng Yi shouted. "All right, I forgot to tell you. Since last month, I've been appointed as the clan's chief steward. So, in terms of emotion and reason, I'm your immediate superior. You should call me your excellency," Bingyan said with a faint smile. How is this possible?" When Feng Yi heard this bad news, he couldn't help but say with a pale face, "Nothing is impossible. You'll have a chance to. However, you'll have to wait until I become an elder in the clan." Bingyan smiled and consoled him. Then, he seemed to have thought of something. "Look at my memory. How could I have forgotten? In the future, you'll be a certain cat servant. I'm afraid you won't have the chance to serve the Qilin race anymore." "Aya, my condolences. Your head." Feng Yi's face was filled with grief and indignation. He was so angry that he even cursed Bing Xiao. This despicable guy betrayed him. How could he tell his family about this? How was he going to be a Qilin in the future? Feng Yi felt that he was too embarrassed to face anyone. Sob. He had to try his best to draw circles to stop and curse them. "You're angry from embarrassment? By the way, your free-fall posture just now is very good. It's obvious that you've practiced." Bingyan did not care about Feng Yi's anger and continued to provoke him. As for Feng Yi, at this moment, his entire body was immersed in the anger and pain of being betrayed by Bing Xiao. He did not have the mood to respond to Bingyan's words at all. Uncle Long watched the two Qilins bicker and mumbled to himself. It seems that even within the united race, there's still some seeds of discord. However, this was normal. After all, where there were humans and beasts, there would always be trouble, not to mention that it was a race with such a long history. However, the tactful Uncle Long clearly did not intend to get involved in the battle between the two Qilins. Therefore, after greeting Bing Yun and Feng Yi, he retreated with self-awareness. The moment Uncle Long left, Bing Yun immediately kicked Feng Yi's butt, who was completely immersed in his own thoughts and exuded a faint sorrow. He even said with a look of disdain, "Look at your disgraceful appearance. How could our Qilin clan have such a stupid fellow like you?" Bing Yun had an expression of disappointment. Feng Yi suddenly came back to his senses and roared even more angrily, "What about me? How am I stupid? You think you're the only smart one? You're smarter than a fox, okay?" After roaring, Feng Yi no longer wanted to pay attention to Bing Yun. He turned his back to him and sat down on the stone chair in the courtyard, continuing to exude his sorrowful aura. Bing Yun was speechless. Not seeing him for several days, this guy's temper had grown. Sighing lightly, Bing Yun controlled his temper and walked behind Feng Yi. He nudged him and said, "Hey, let me ask you, how long has Lung Ruoxue been in closed-door cultivation? Why should I tell you?" Feng Yi turned his head and replied angrily, "Don't you want to return to the Qilin clan? To tell you the truth, I'm here today to invite Lung Ruoxue to the Qilin clan as a guest. Once she's there, you can go back with her, right?" Bing Yun reminded. "So what if I go back? I can't do anything right now." Feng Yi seemed even sadder when he heard this. In fact, it didn't matter to him whether he went back or not. In this place, he could eat well, live well, and eat well. He had long gotten along with everyone. During this period of time, he had been free and unfettered. So, if he really had to live here for the rest of his life, he didn't mind. In addition, to be honest, this place was really not bad. The only bad thing was that every time he went to see the old ancestor would find him annoying and kick him out of the room. Chapter 2738, Devil's Forest 2 AI. And this time, he had been seen by his archenemy, which was the biggest source of his sorrow. If you don't go back, are you really planning to work for a cat for the rest of your life? Hearing Feng Ye's words that seemed to give up his freedom, Bingyan asked, not giving up. If you're willing to bet, you must accept your loss. What could he do? Unless you can defeat that cat and redeem me. Feng Yi said with anticipation. After saying this, he really cheered for his own idea. How could he be so smart? If Bingyan also lost to that cat, wouldn't no one in the clan dare to laugh at him? The more he thought about it, the more he felt that his idea was simply too great. If he didn't have to hide his excitement, Feng Yi would have jumped up and cheered. But would Bingyan fall for his trick? He only heard Bingyan say with a serious look, I can't agree to this matter so easily. What if I lose my freedom like you? Fortunately, you lost to a cat. If you had lost to a human, you would have become his contracted beast. So, this was really a blessing in misfortune. You should be content. Seeing that his rival did not take the bait, Feng Yi was not angry. Anyway, this guy had always been more cunning than him. It was not easy to trick him once. So, he stood up and walked out of the yard. Wait, you haven't told me how long Lung Ruoxue has been in closed-door cultivation. Seeing that Feng Yi was about to leave, Bingyan quickly called out to him. However, Feng Yi didn't even turn his head, only his voice was heard. If you don't think of a way to save me, don't even think of me telling you about Lung Ruoxue. Bingyan didn't expect Feng Yi to throw such a tantrum. This was really... He was speechless. Seeing that Feng Yi's back was out of sight, he could only leave Shui Mo's residence and go to find Uncle Long. When Uncle Long saw that Bingyan had come to find him, he didn't ask how his discussion with Feng Yi went and directly arranged a place for him to stay. At Bingyan's request, his residence was arranged to be next to Feng Yi's. When Feng Yi found out about this, he immediately protested against living with this guy. Uncle Long ignored Feng Yi's words and quickly left the two Qilins' territory. Out of sight, out of mind. As for how much trouble the two Qilins could cause, it was their business. After all, they had to compensate for the things they had destroyed. Therefore, he was not worried at all. After watching Uncle Long leave, the two Qilins stared at each other, and their residence was as lively as Uncle Long had imagined every day. However, no matter how much they fought, they didn't dare to break anything here. Otherwise, they really couldn't afford to pay. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, Bingyan had also lived here for several months. However, after waiting for so long, Lung Ruoxue still had not come out of her closed-door cultivation. Bingyan truly could not wait any longer. Even if he had good food, good accommodation, and people to fight with him every day. However, thinking that the clan was still waiting for old ancestor to return, Bingyan felt as if grass had grown in her heart, unable to sit still. Finding Uncle Long, Bingyan asked directly, how much longer until Lung Ruoxue comes out of her closed-door cultivation? Thanks, it should be soon. Uncle Long replied after some thought. In reality, Shui had not been in closed-door cultivation at all. That girl had always been in the spatial space, refining pills and forging weapons with Chief Elder and the others. He had also told Shui Bingyan's intentions for coming. However, after talking about Bingyan's anxiousness before, Shui thought the same as him. The Qilin clan was so anxious, there was probably some hidden story. This way, both he and Shui were not in a hurry to go to the Qilin clan. However, after observing for a few months, Uncle Long felt that the Qilin clan must have sent an invitation to Shui because they wanted to use Shui's name to trick their ancestor into going back. Otherwise, if this continued, the Qilin clan's ancestor might really end up growing up here. It was precisely because he had seen through the intentions of the Qilin clan that Uncle Long didn't use Shui's seclusion as an excuse. More importantly, they had delayed for so long, and it was indeed time for them to head to the Qilin clan. After all, this was a rare opportunity. That's great, but I don't know how long it'll take. The moment Bingyan heard, he clearly heaved a sigh of relief. But in reality, he really wanted to cry. It really wasn't easy for him to have been looking forward to this. 5 days later, Lung Ruoxua had come out of her closed-door cultivation openly. When Bing Yun saw the famous Lung Ruoxua, he almost burst into tears. This little ancestor had finally come out. Sobs. It seemed like the heavens were still kind to him. Otherwise, if Lung Ruoxua were to go in a closed-door cultivation for a few hundred or 1,000 years, he would have to wait until he was a daylily. However, when Lung Ruoxua saw Bing Yun's teary eyes, she was shocked. Ugh, did it have to be so exaggerated? Bing Yun's first words upon seeing Lung Ruoxua was not a self-introduction, but instead, "Come with me." As expected, Lung Ruoxua's face turned pale from fright. Did the Qilin clan always do things in such a bold manner? You want to snatch someone in broad daylight? After 3 seconds of silence, Lung Ruoxua pretended to be calm and said, "Bing Yun, don't be anxious. We have to pack our things before we can head to the Qilin clan. What's there to clean up? You could just follow me. I've been waiting for you for so long, and the clan has also been waiting for several months. Everyone is anxious to see you." Bing Yun grumbled. As he spoke, his resentful eyes were still wandering around Lung Ruoxua's body. "I have to prepare some gifts. I can't go to the Qilin clan empty-handed," Lung Ruoxua said helplessly. She had long heard from Uncle Long that the Qilin clan's Bing Yun was an impatient person. At that time, she was still thinking about how anxious she would be. Now, she finally experienced it. This really wasn't an ordinary kind of anxiousness. No need. Bing Yun only reacted fiercely after he rejected her. Then, he asked with his eyes wide open, "You said prepare a gift? To the Qilin clan?" "Yes, I am." Lung Ruoxua smiled and nodded. "Actually, there's no need to specially prepare anything. Just bring some of your medicinal pills, fruits, and the like." Bing Yun gave his opinion. "All right, since Mr. Hailcloud has such a request, I will naturally satisfy it. However, there should be quite a number of people from the Qilin clan. How many should I prepare?" Lung Ruoxua probed. 100 will do," Bing Yun said directly. "Even if it's 100 portions, it'll take 2 to 3 days to prepare. Shall we leave the day after tomorrow?" Lung Ruoxua asked again. Then, "All right." Bing Yun was a little unwilling, but he changed his mind. They were preparing gifts for the Qilin clan. It wouldn't be good if they didn't give them enough time. In any case, they had already waited for several months, so it wouldn't make a difference of 2 or 3 days. Then, he couldn't help but add, "Miss Lung, please tell old Grandmadam about this. Don't you know, Sir Shui Mo?" Lung Ruoxua blinked her eyes and asked in disbelief. She was truly suspicious of what this Qilin had been doing for the past few months. Senior Shui Mo didn't even know about this small matter. Chapter 2739, Devil's Forest 3. The old ancestor didn't even give me a chance to speak," Bing Yun said with a face full of hidden bitterness. Every time he met the old ancestor would despise him for wasting his time, and then he would receive the same treatment as Feng Yi. He had been here for a few months, so he and Feng Yi didn't have to laugh at each other. "I got it," Lung Ruoxua said with some sympathy. "Miss Lung, please persuade old Grandmadam to return with us," Bing Yun begged. "He'll try," Lung Ruoxua replied helplessly. In reality, she felt that Bing Yun had thought too highly of herself. Even the people of the Qilin clan could not move Shui Mo. What use would an outsider like her have? However, to her surprise, when she went to see Shui Mo and told him that she was going to the Qilin clan 2 days later, Shui Mo said that he would go with her without her asking. When Lung Ruoxua heard Shui Mo's words, she was speechless. "I'm obviously going to your house, okay? Why did it become accompanying her back?" He wondered if the Qilin clan would cry if they knew that their ancestor had such thoughts about going home. However, she did not let down Bing Yun's trust and completed the mission. Lung Ruoxua then told Bing Yun the good news. Bing Yun was so touched that she was about to cry again. Seeing how excited the other party was, she didn't even dare to tell Bing Yun. "Your family's old ancestor said that he'll accompany me." The 3 days that Bing Yun had been looking forward to had finally come. He had gone to the living room early in the morning to wait for Lung Ruoxue and the rest to gather and set off. 2 days ago, when a master of the Ning family and the rest found out that they had a chance to go to the Qilin clan, they were all very interested in going with them to broaden their horizons. However, the few Reverend God-level experts definitely could not all go. In the end, after a long period of research, Lung Ruoxue's side finally sent out a suitable candidate. For this trip to the Qilin clan, Lung Ruoxue only brought Uncle Long and her godfather. Among the beasts, only baby Mei, Yin, Yu, and Ling were with her. This time, she didn't even bring Azure. Apart from staying at home to keep watch, Azure had also been teaching the Blood Lotus flower how to control its aura, so it naturally couldn't leave at will. Apart from Uncle Long, Godfather, and the 5 little beasts, Shui, Mo, and Feng Yu would also go back. Without Song's group, everyone's speed of travel was naturally much slower. Moreover, the Qilin race was located in a large canyon at the southernmost part of the Immortal Realm. Its geographical location was relatively remote and was surrounded by mountains. There were also many forests that acted as barriers, blocking the traffic between the outside world and the large canyon. Therefore, when they were near the Great Canyon, their speed would be even slower. Of course, these were all told to Lung Ruoxue by the 3 Qilins. When they arrived at the forest that led to the entrance of the Grand Canyon, Lung Ruoxue realized that the other party's words were not exaggerated at all. In fact, they were reserved. As she looked at the huge tree that towered into the clouds, Lung Ruoxue felt that no words could beat the fact that it was right in front of her. Originally, Lung Ruoxue had suggested to fly over, but her suggestion was unanimously despised by the 3 Qilins. In the words of the Qilins, don't think about saving time for everything. To them, passing through such a forest is also a way of cultivation training. Therefore, they couldn't fly. Otherwise, you would be looked down upon by the Qilin race, even if you were an invited guest. Since the other party had already said so, Lung Ruoxue naturally could only do as the host pleased. After that, she followed the 3 Qilins into the forest that was filled with giant trees. Uncle Long and Master Ning chose to bring up the rear. As they walked into the forest, Lung Ruoxue and the rest, who had never been here before, were shocked to realize that the forest was much bigger than they had imagined. Little girl, this is the legendary Devil Forest. As they walked, Shui Mo suddenly turned around and said, Devil's Forest? Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face was filled with question marks. Shui, this place is called the Devil Forest because the weather here has always been unpredictable. The master of the Ning family, who knew the meaning of the Devil Forest, explained. However, Lung Ruoxue clearly didn't understand. She still looked at her godfather shamelessly. It's clear sky now, right? Maybe the weather will change in a while. The master of the Ning family explained. As soon as he finished speaking, as if in response to his words, the cloudless sky suddenly became covered with dark clouds. The sky also instantly darkened, accompanied by rumbling thunder and lightning. In the blink of an eye, it was as if a hole had been opened in the sky, and a storm was about to fall. Lung Ruoxue finally experienced the unpredictable weather in the Devil's Forest. Is it going to rain? Let's take shelter from the rain. Lung Ruoxue suggested when she noticed that the weather was bad. However, Shui Mo and the other 2 Qilins objected and said, Don't worry, it won't rain. It never rains in the Devil Forest. It's not raining. Lung Ruoxue was speechless. If it didn't rain in this damned weather, why would they use knives? Thanks, be careful, everyone. Suddenly, Shui Mo reminded them loudly, and the 3 of them transformed into their true forms. In an instant, 3 mighty and domineering Qilins appeared in front of Lung Ruoxue's group of 3 humans and 5 beasts. There were 3 Qilins. One was water blue, one was green, and one was ice blue. After transforming into their true forms, the 3 behemoths were exactly the same, except for their different colors. Their bodies were covered with scales, and long hair hung from the gaps between the scales to the ground, making them look even more powerful and beautiful. However, this way, it would be difficult for Lung Ruoxue to distinguish who was who. Even though it was very difficult to distinguish the three Qilins, the green Qilin still laughed evilly and deliberately lowered its voice. Guess who we are? Lung Ruoxue broke out in cold sweat. How was she supposed to guess? They all looked the same, other than the difference in color. Lung Ruoxue closed her beautiful eyes and opened them again. She pointed at the green Qilin with certainty and said, "You're definitely Feng Yi. How did you know?" Feng Yi's eyes widened in disbelief as he asked in a daze. "Because other than you, Senior Shui, Mo, and Ice Cloud wouldn't be so bored," Lung Ruoxue said matter-of-factly. Hearing her words, Feng Yi was completely depressed. Boo-hoo. That bad girl's words were a huge blow to Qilin. Shui Mo and Bingyan couldn't help but laugh. After he was done laughing, Shui Mo reminded him, "Little girl, you must be careful. This place is going to be dangerous soon." And even though Shui Mo did not say it explicitly, Lung Ruoxue still nodded her head seriously. Not long after, when the forest was completely dark, Lung Ruoxue and the rest suddenly noticed a fire flickering in the distance. "They're here," Shui Mo reminded. When Lung Ruoxue, Uncle Long, and the master of the Ning family heard this, they immediately took out their weapons and entered a combat state. The five little beasts also rubbed their fists and wiped their palms, ready to have a good fight with the dangers in the Devil Forest. As the firelight slowly approached, Lung Ruoxue suddenly realized that these were not firelight at all, but countless fireflies. Perhaps they cannot be called fireflies because these small insects were not only much bigger than fireflies, but also not as cute as fireflies. More importantly, these crustacean-type bugs that were the size of an adult's fist and had flames burning on their bodies were not only aggressive, but they also looked even fiercer. Lung Ruoxue could even hear the sound of them grinding their teeth. However, at this moment, it seemed like she didn't have the chance to ask what this thing was. Seeing that the other party had a flame, Lung Ruoxue didn't want to be outdone and flashed her own natal flame. The moment her flames appeared, the group of fire bugs seemed to instinctively cower. However, the group of bugs did not retreat. Instead, they all flew towards Lung Ruoxue's direction. Be careful." The master of the Ning family saw that these insects seemed to be more interested in Shui, and couldn't help but remind them worriedly. "Godfather, take care of yourselves," Lung Ruoxue replied. Then, her beautiful eyes were fixed on the group of insects that were like moths flying into the fire. As they neared, the orderly group of insects hesitated for a moment before flying towards the flame in Lung Ruoxue's hand. In an instant, the insect had Lung Ruoxue completely surrounded. How did this happen? Shui Mo and the other two Qilins were surprised. These bugs had always been watching them closely, but they had obviously changed their target this time. The insect's unexpected actions had also caused them to lose the best opportunity to help Lung Ruoxue. This made the three gigantic creatures deeply regret their decision. However, the three Qilins still charged towards the fire regardless of the consequences. They tried to disperse the group of insects and save Lung Ruoxue. "Arg, it's so hot." As soon as he reached the flames, Feng Yi was scared by the extremely high temperature of the flames and retreated. Shui Mo and Bingyan also tried, but they couldn't get close due to the heat. The bug's flames seemed to be especially powerful today. The three Qilins couldn't understand why. However, they had to save Lung Ruoxue. After all, Lung Ruoxue was a guest that they had invited. If she were to die in the Devil Forest, how would the Qilin clan have the face to continue living in the God world? With this in mind, the three Qilins were a little desperate. They were going all out today. However, just as they were about to move again, a little white fox stood in front of them. "Little fox, move aside. We're here to save your master," Shui Mo said. "Master is fine," Meijin said honestly. "How can she be fine? Lung Ruoxue is already surrounded by flames. Don't block it. Quickly move away. Your master might be gnawed clean by the soul, devouring insects later." Feng Yi didn't understand why this snow fox, who had always given people the impression of being very understanding, was suddenly so stubborn today? Wasn't this delaying them from saving people? You bastard. You're the one who'll be gnawed clean by those damn soul-devouring bugs. Even if something happens to you, my master will be fine. Hearing Feng yes words, baby Fire shouted. It didn't care what kind of noble Qilin it was. He could not say that his cute master would be in trouble. Chapter 2740 Black-Bellied Shui and Mo 1. The treasure's protector made Feng Yi so depressed that he was about to cry. He didn't seem to have said anything too overboard. They only hoped that these little fellows, who cared about their master, would not delay their rescue of Long Ruoxue, who knew that they would actually provoke them. Feng Yi truly felt that he was innocent. Although his words were a little harsh, they were the truth. Why was telling the truth so unlikable these days? The worried Feng Yi kept sighing in his heart. At this moment, he suddenly widened his eyes and revealed an expression of disbelief. Oh my God, what did it see? Long Ruoxue, who was previously surrounded by the flames, was now engulfed in flames. However, in the next instant, the flames that filled the sky were suddenly extinguished. Long Ruoxue appeared in front of them, safe and sound. The soul-devouring worms that were surrounding her had disappeared without a trace. Where are the bugs? Feng Yi was filled with question marks. Shui, it's good that you're fine. Shui Mo noticed Long Ruoxue's condition and asked with concern. I'm fine, but those bugs are so powerful. Long Ruoxue said with lingering fear. If it wasn't for the power of her flames, she would have become the food of those insects. Yup, those are soul-devouring insects, and they especially like to devour the soul and body of humans or beasts. That's why humans and beasts in the outside world are afraid of the Devil Forest. Except for our Qilin clan, no beasts or humans dare to approach this place. Shui Mo explained. He had taken the initiative to say that he would come back with Long Ruoxue because he had considered the power of the soul-devouring insect and wanted to protect Long Ruoxue, who knew that this little girl would deal with the insect herself. At this moment, Shui Mo's evaluation of Long Ruoxue rose even higher. Then, Shui Mo thought for a while and said, Little girl, although these soul-devouring insects are very powerful, they are of utmost importance to our Qilin clan. With them, they're definitely a guarantee for our Qilin clan. Even Wu Xian doesn't dare to rashly set foot here, because these soul-devouring insects don't have any intelligence and act only on instinct. Any living creature that passed by their territory would be seen as food. As for our Qilin clan, other than viewing them as a barrier, they are also the training targets for the younger generation of our clan. However, the soul-devouring insects are quite ferocious, so we are very careful when arranging for the younger generation to gain experience. As for the adult Qilin, it is already used to the existence of these small insects, but when facing them, we sometimes feel very annoyed, but we can't do it without them. Shui Mo had said all this to explain to Long Ruoxue the necessity of these insects' existence. It could be said that with these insects, the Qilin clan would be much safer. As for walking through this place, it was more for training. The other important reason was that the Qilin clan also wanted to test Long Ruoxue's courage. Of course, this reason could not be stated clearly. However, Long Ruoxue was not stupid. From the vigilance of Shui Mo and the other two Qilins, she knew that these insects were very troublesome. Furthermore, the three of them were determined to walk despite knowing that the insects were very troublesome. This explained the problem. However, Long Ruoxue believed that the other party had no intention of harming her. It was probably because the other party thought that he could protect her. But from the looks of it now, there must have been an accident. Otherwise, the other party would not have been so surprised when he saw that the insect seemed to be more interested in her. Although she had been surrounded by the bugs, she was still clear about what was happening outside. Those soul-devouring bugs were killed by my flames. Are you all right? Long Ruoxue asked calmly after hearing Shui Mo's words. Thanks, I'm fine. Hearing this, Shui Mo's mouth twitched uncontrollably. He thought to himself, If those bugs could be killed so easily, they wouldn't have coexisted with the Qilin clan for so many years. He was really curious how Lung Ruoxue did it. However, it felt that Lung Ruoxue had just suffered shock, so it was better not to ask about this now. However, Feng Yi could not wait any longer. It looked at Lung Ruoxue with a face of disbelief. With its mouth half open, it asked, "The soul-devouring insects are really dead? How did you do it? You don't believe me? Why don't you catch me some soul-devouring insects, and I'll show you." Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. I believe you, all right. Then can you tell me how you killed them?" Feng Yi asked, speechless. "He was burned to death by fire," Lung Ruoxue said honestly. But Feng Yi, the Qilin, still didn't believe it. "Fire? Don't joke around. It's not like there aren't fire Qilin in their race, but I've never seen their flames effective on the soul-devouring insects. Otherwise, the soul-devouring insects would not have been able to survive for so long." "You don't believe me?" Lung Ruoxue asked with an evil smile when she saw the thoughts on Feng Yi's face. Are your flames really that powerful?" Feng Yi didn't believe it. This was too unreal. "Do you want to try my flame?" As she spoke, a small and exquisite purple-red flame appeared on Lung Ruoxue's fair and tender fingertips. The dazzling flame made her fingertips look exceptionally beautiful. No need. Feng Yi, who could feel the heat of the small flame from far away, felt that he was not that stupid to test the fire with his own body. However, the vengeful baby obviously didn't want to let go of this stupid Qilin who once suspected that its master would be in danger. It smiled evilly and provoked. "Cute master, this Qilin almost ruined your plan. Oomph. It actually cursed you to be gnawed clean by the soul-devouring insects and still wanted to save you. It really overestimated its own strength. If we didn't stop it from rushing over, I'm afraid it would have been burned to ashes by now." Lung Ruoxue was silent. It seemed that Feng Yi's words about her being gnawed clean by the soul-devouring bugs had clearly angered the vengeful baby. However, her baby was her little beast, so she naturally had to stand on her baby's side unconditionally. Hence, as soon as her baby finished speaking, her unfriendly eyes landed on Feng Yi. Sob. Feng Yi felt so wrong that he wanted to cry. It clearly had good intentions and wanted to save Lung Ruoxue. How could that detestable little fox say that about it? Curse? You bastard. Who did it curse? Who would curse in front of the person involved? Did they really think it was stupid? However, Lung Ruoxue clearly believed her little beastie's instigations, and this made Feng Yi feel extremely aggrieved. Can you not be like this? This was killing the donkey when the grinding was done. No, he wanted to kill the Qilin. You can't do this. I clearly didn't mean it that way. After being wrong for a while, Feng Yi said with obvious lack of confidence. Oomph. You're cursing my adorable master. The baby still didn't want to let Feng Yi go. Woo-woo, you can't bully a Qilin like this. Seeing that he couldn't get his hands on the treasure, Feng Yi simply wailed. He was crying and rolling on the ground. One must know that this was a new move that it had learned from Lung Ruoxue's beasts. It had used it today, and it had not learned it for nothing. Chapter 2741, Black-Bellied Shui Emo 2. On the surface, Feng Yi looked like he was crying very sadly, but in his heart, he was very satisfied with his own adaptability. If he had continued to argue with his opponent, he would have definitely lost. Feng Yi was proud of his wit, but his face darkened when he saw Shui, Mo, and Bingyun like this. This was too embarrassing, wasn't it? Do you have to embarrass the Qilin clan like this? Or do you think that you've already become someone else's servant, so you don't need to care about the Qilin race's reputation anymore? Thinking here, Bingyun ruthlessly kicked Feng Yi's huge body. His foot just happened to land on his butt and sent him flying. Arg! Bingyun, you bastard! Following this sentence, a thump was heard as an object landed on the ground and disappeared from Lung Ruoxue and the other's sight. I'm sorry. I've made a fool of myself. Bingyun finished all of this very calmly, then said to Lung Ruoxue and the rest with a smile. Lung Ruoxue was speechless. Uncle Long and the master of the Ning family were starting to pity Feng Yi, that old Qilin. In fact, from an outsider's point of view, that old Qilin really didn't say anything that was too much. Even though what it said before wasn't pleasant to the ears, it was only because it was worried about that little girl Shui. More importantly, the Qilin didn't know how powerful Shui Er's flame was. As the saying goes, one can't blame those who didn't know, so they really felt that the Qilin wasn't unforgivable. However, the reality was clear. Shui was standing on his little beastie's side. As such, they naturally could not help outsiders. After mourning for Feng Yi for 3 minutes, Uncle Long took the initiative to change the topic and asked, "Now that the soul-devouring insects have been eliminated, can we continue moving forward?" And Shui Mo nodded. Even though he was surprised that Lung Ruoxue could kill the soul-devouring bugs, there was no need to waste any more time here. However, Feng Yi had not returned yet. If he left now, wouldn't he be left here alone? To be honest, it was a little worried about Feng Yi's carefree personality. However, just as it was thinking this, it heard a weak voice in its ear. "Whoa, you guys are really bullying the honest Qilin." As soon as he finished speaking, a blue Kirin with a swollen face appeared in front of everyone. Lung Ruoxue and the rest glanced at Feng Yi's new image and were worried about his low intelligence. "Where did she fall? Why is your face so swollen? How did you end up like this? I didn't kick too hard?" Bingyun, who was the most surprised, directly asked what everyone was thinking. "You didn't kick me hard, but you kicked me into a hornet's nest." "Ugh," Feng Yi roared. After that, he started crying without caring about his image. This time, Bingyun miraculously didn't find it embarrassing. Instead, she looked at Feng Yi, who was crying very sadly, with a face full of guilt, not knowing how to comfort him. Lung Ruoxue and the rest who were watching from the side were all very sympathetic towards Feng Yi. Baby even took the initiative to say, out of kindness, "How tragic. AI, seeing that you're already so pitiful, I won't hold it against you for cursing my lovely master. But you have to remember, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. Do you know what it means to get into trouble from the mouth? It's referring to your previous appearance." Baby's words were very meaningful, and Feng Yi nodded his head repeatedly. However, no one knew if it would remember. However, Feng Yi's danger was finally over. After that, everyone continued on their way. On the way, as the host, Bingyun kept consoling Lung Ruoxue, the 3 humans, and the 5 beasts. "Don't worry, the soul-devouring insects shouldn't appear again. Under normal circumstances, they only appear once a day." However, just as it finished speaking, Lung Ruoxue, the 3 humans, 5 beasts, and the 2 Qilins, Shui Mo and Feng Yi, heard a buzzing sound from afar. Then, countless flames came closer and surrounded them from all directions. "Thanks, it seems like the soul-devouring insects are working overtime today." Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but tease them when she saw how nervous they were. "Don't joke around, okay?" Bingyun said gloomily. He had just said that the soul-devouring bugs would not appear, and now they had appeared in large numbers all around. Wasn't this a slap to his face? Bingyun was very angry, and the consequences were very serious. An ice-blue Qilin was charging in the direction of the fire with a monstrous rage. When Lung Ruoxue saw this, she couldn't help but worry. "It's okay for it to be so impulsive, right? It's all right, we're already used to it," Feng Yi said without a care. With regards to its words, Lung Ruoxue truly felt that Feng Yi was taking the opportunity to take revenge. "Detestable. Your target should be me." Suddenly, Bing Yun's furious roar came from afar. Everyone did not know what was going on. They looked up and suddenly realized that those soul-devouring bugs that usually liked Qilin had actually passed by Bing Yun's side at this moment and were flying in their direction. "What's going on? Why didn't that ice block even attract a single soul-devouring bug?" The soaring flames made Feng Yi, who was in disbelief, feel a little confused. This didn't make sense. It shouldn't be like this. "Little girl, they seem to be coming for you." Shui Mo, who felt that something was wrong, couldn't help but remind him. "Yes, it's very likely that he's here to take revenge on me." Lung Ruoxue replied calmly. After some thought, she asked, "Senior Shui Mo, If I accidentally destroy your barrier and your opponent, your Chilean race won't blame me, right? Shui Emo couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat off his forehead and said, "It's more important to save your life." In fact, it really wanted to say that the soul-devouring insects could not be exterminated because these insects had a very short lifespan. Even if they did not kill the soul-devouring insects, when the time was up, these small insects would still die, and new soul-devouring insects would be born in the devil's forest at that time. This was also the privilege that nature had given to the devil's forest. However, Shui Emo didn't dare to tell Lung Ruoxue this. He was afraid that it would be his fault if he caused Lung Ruoxue too much pressure. However, Lung Ruoxue had nothing to worry about since Shui Mo's life was more important. "Godfather, Uncle Long, and my baby, stay away from me and protect yourselves," Lung Ruoxue ordered. When Uncle Long, Master Ning, and the five little bees heard Lung Ruoxue's words, they tactfully distanced themselves from her and pulled away the two Chilans that wanted to help. Shui Mo did not have any objections to this, because he clearly realized that Lung Ruoxue was more powerful than he had imagined. However, Feng Yu was not tactful and thought that they were not loyal. "How can you do this? We're partners." Feng Yu shouted. "Shut up. Don't cause any trouble for my cute master." Treasure was furious and couldn't take it anymore. "You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.